put my voicemail at 20 seconds, which will be weird as hell. I hate it every time.
Got it.
And
we are live.
Yes, we are.
Oh,
and hey,
I didn't know.
There we go. We're live. And guess what? Everyone? I'm doing 2 shows in 2 days. It's amazing. It's a personal best for me. I mean, Jesus, I think the last show before this one was before last night's show I did with my friend Vincent. I did a show with this guy named Johnny Basement. He's a diehard Jets fan. Great guy. Good conversation. Like, he knows his combat sport, like his WWE really well, which I should have brought him on, but there's always next time, Phil. So anyway, I've got an old friend stopping by tonight, like I did last night, Mr. Phil Clark. Everyone, he hasn't been on the show. Gosh, how long? Like a year and a half.
Probably, I think a year, because we were talking football last time I was on.
Okay,
so probably about a year.
But we'll talk about the big story. We'll be talking about the biggest story in probably comic sports, and like we just said off the air, probably 20 years. But if you want to be real, it's probably 40.
I mean, I wouldn't have thought that we would have seen the day when Vince McMahon is gone.
He's gone.
My question has always been from the beginning, is it going to be a puppet regime that takes over, or because I get that vision of Robert De Niro in Casino late in the movie where he's in his bedroom and he's watching the cameras of keeping tabs on the casino still. Does Vince still have people there? Are the people at the top just going to do what he still says?
It doesn't sound like
gone. It's over. It is truly a day that nobody ever thought would ever come.
Well, we thought it'd come. It'd just be like, Vince's death.
Whenever that would be, who knows?
And I mean, like, I think it is real because I mean, like, apparently they've said no one said they've ever seen him around Titan Towers at all.
Well, that definitely would be a sign. I mean, it is amazing.
I'm sure he watches it.
Let me ask you this. What's more amazing? The fact that he's gone, or the fact that it was a hush money sex scandal that took him down? He beat the federal government technically twice, because they were looking to come back at him for the steroid thing again in 2007, I believe it was, and then they didn't even get to court for that one. They backed off early there, but he beat the feds. He's beaten everybody.
I think the steroid thing was beat down because he's like, okay, fine, I'll institute the best wellness program in the country.
Yeah.
And that's what helped him there.
I agree that
if what happened in 1994 happened now, he'd be gone too.
True.
Because in the sense of, but he also had a backup plan for that, and I think this is his backup plan just in case. But I think he's fully gone, just because it's a publicly traded company now.
Yeah, I think you're right that he's gone simply because they're going to sell. They're going to sell. That is the thing. I don't know. Yes, they are.
I think they're.
Yes, they are.
I think Paul and Steph are going to do exactly what he did, but he's going to wait till the deal with Peacock's over and sell it to like Netflix.
I think,
and just franchise it out.
But Disney could potentially,
or Disney,
NBC, Fox still has, if they feel, I don't know how they feel about SmackDown right now, but if Fox felt like it was worth the investment, they could potentially come in and buy it, even though.
I just meant for the license, because I mean, remember, Vince got like $2 billion just for 5 years. I mean,
yes, in that sense, but I'm talking about buying the company itself. They are going to sell at some point, probably in the next couple of years, because
if they get a deal they can't refuse. Yes. By the way,
and I think now they're going to get billions. They're going to get billions. If UFC got $5 billion, and that was 7 years ago. WWE, with all their different revenue streams and all the name, the library, etc. I mean,
but like I said, like they got $2 billion for the streaming alone. I mean, just for the franchise it out, which is insane.
I agree. So, and that's I did see an article that might be the plan of action going forward after you hit the nail, because I did see an article earlier this week that said that is something they're exploring. And you're right. I mean, is Apple going to try to get in on the, or are they going to have a good old fight? Triple threat match inside the cage. Apple, Amazon, Netflix, winner take
Well,
all.
we were because I hate to jump sports real quick, but like
Yep.
my friend Vince and I talked about this last night, like with how much money the NFL is making. Okay, I don't think people really realize how much the NFL is going to make in the next 4 years
Because of the Amazon deal.
because of everything.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean,
You don't
I'm
think-
sure people
well-
are aware of how many billions they make from the deals with Fox and CBS. And NBC.
I don't think people really realize because like I said, Vince and I were talking about this last night. Do you know what their projection is for growth by 2026?
Not off the top of my head, no.
They're going to grow 2.5 times.
Wow. I'm not surprised.
But put in perspective, like Amazon paid $1 billion for 1 year
Yeah.
for the Thursday night games.
Yeah.
Okay. For 18 games, that's all you're getting.
Correct.
50 million a game. So, like I said, if everything's gonna go up by 2.5 times,
Yeah.
we were just talking about like we extrapolated this crazily because we're geeks like that. But like I said, we're gonna stick on football for 20 seconds. We'll get back to Vince's
no
story. I apologize for jumping around with that. But like we talked about this last night, I was like, do you realize like if like Arch Manning succeeds in the NFL?
Uh-huh. Oh,
Come on.
yeah.
Okay, he's gonna sign his rookie deal. We'll just say it's gonna be like 4 years, $50 million plus a 5th-year option. It's up to like 30 minutes. So it's gonna be basically a 5-year, $80 million contract. His second contract with whomever, if it's his team he drafts him, or it could make Patrick Mahomes' contract a chicken scratch.
Now,
Like
where is he
I'm-
going now? I forget.
Texas.
Okay. I wonder how much NIL money he's going to end up making.
He's already got.
I know.
10
I know he's already got some. I'm saying because
Oh,
he's going to
it's
be
gonna be-
there for 2 years. I believe he's got to be there for 2 years. 3. Okay, 3. Even better.
I will
That's
say
not all he's going to get.
I will say $500 million, and I will.
Yeah,
believe-
I
and
mean,
and I
it's Texas.
One, he's at
It's Texas. It's Texas. It's football. He's playing in Austin with the horns. Yeah, he's going to be making. Let alone all the $500 handshakes he's probably going to be getting if he wins.
plus the other thing is like his last name.
Yeah.
You don't think the Manning name, the Manning legacy is going to. But like I said, say he succeeds. Okay, like I said, he's the first overall pick in the 2026 draft. Like I said, 5 years down the road, it's 2031. You know how much money he's going to be making?
Oh, he might be the $1 billion man.
Yes, we were
He
talking
might
about
be
that
the $1
last
billion
night.
man.
Because if you got to figure it, okay, Patrick Mahomes is getting 10 years, $503 million, I think it was.
Yep.
Is it 530 or 503? It's those numbers in my head. Anyway.
That's right. And that's, yeah. So fast forward. So imagine almost a decade down the road.
So, like I said, if the revenue is going to jump by 2.5 times,
player contracts obviously are going to go up
in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Salary caps alone can be $500 million.
Can you imagine
when Arch Manning will get?
Can you imagine? Oh, sorry.
So Arch Manning will sign a deal if he's successful after his rookie contract for like a similar. If he gets Mahomes' money,
it's the Mega Millions jackpot in a contract.
It is.
Yeah, it's incredible.
He will get roughly. We figured out the math would probably be 10 years, 800 million.
Man,
because
I mean, and just thinking about that, can you imagine when Broke 7 is made, when the 30 for 30 Broke 7 is made, some of the stories about players blowing with some of these contracts that big stars are going to make. This is some of these stories about how some of these guys are going to blow their money is going to be legendary because it's going to be even more money.
You're going to make
more money.
You're going to make Mike Tyson and Bernie Kosar and all them look like it's chicken scratch.
Oh, it's going to look like nothing. I was talking to my brother a couple of weeks ago on this very subject. I reminded him of when we were kids and that Sports Illustrated cover with Dion when he was one of the first big contracts in the NFL, really big.
Yeah.
And I still remember that Sports Illustrated contract of him in the cowboy uniform. And is this man worth $41 million, which nowadays is insulting to somebody who that's that level.
That's a rookie deal for the first overall pick.
Which is again,
and it's a cutback.
That's right. It's just an amazing example of where it's gone so fast and so
just to jump,
far.
yeah. So like so to jump between that and now back to WWE, it's like
Yes, that was just
yeah, that was just proof points. So like we'll get to NFL more later. We can talk about more business. I know it's later, but like WWE say like because I think their contracts for like 3 more years with Peacock Network.
okay.
So I mean, say if they don't sell, like they do the exact thing we talked about. It's like they call Netflix, they call Amazon, they call Apple, they call them all. Say how much you want, and they get like not to buy just the franchise out again. It's just a streaming because it's
that's
like,
right, and they can survive that way. That is basically how they're surviving because it's not like they're
thriving.
live. They're not making huge money on tickets. Pay-per-view isn't really a thing with them anymore. It's about the subscriptions. It's about the streaming and the television money.
They are in the best place of any wrestling company in the world at the moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like it's not close.
Correct. And especially because they got Vince to go before a lot of this stuff really heats up. It's not like these investigations are over and Real Sports their report hasn't even aired yet. Whatever they found or whatever they were looking for.
I mean, by comparison, I mean, again, we're going to jump again because, we can't help ourselves.
Well, this is comparisons.
AEW, they're in a mess right now.
Yeah. It's getting sad. It's not good. It's not good.
Well, like I told one of the guys I work with, you know what AEW needs? One, they need a head of talent relations that named Tony Khan.
Yeah. No, 2, they need a lot of people in a lot of positions, not named Tony. Tony has to first of all, Tony has to pick. The fact that he is still trying to
he's a mark.
Fulfill his responsibilities with Fulham and with the Jaguars, he's heading towards eating a gun for lunch.
Yes,
he is at this point, just because he's going to have a break. And at that point, so he has to choose. If he wants to do the wrestling thing, this is his baby and he really wants, then get other people to fulfill your responsibilities with those teams.
The biggest thing they could use right now is a 57-year-old middle-aged man who's 6'8" and kick the shit out of everyone in the company.
Yeah.
If you get my drift, like that's one thing because
I think he was a biker once.
I heard, but
I think he was.
Well, my whole point, my whole sarcastic point is the fact that when morale was the all-time lowest in WWE, November 6th, 1997, the day after the Montreal school job.
Yeah. Foley quit.
Foley walked out. Mick Foley just walked out in perpetuity.
Yep.
So did Rick Rude, but it's a whole difference. But still.
Yeah. But yes, you're right.
But the way they got it back together is like they had a unifying force. Taker was there. He was.
That's right. I always wonder if Taker had been the one who walked out instead of Foley, what that would have done as far as
WCW won the war, and then they would have been out of business by 2003. There at the end.
The end. The wrestling business is dead.
Yes, dead. American wrestling business is dead, and everyone's working.
The Undertaker saved the wrestling business in the United States by not walking out.
And not by being the shit of Shawn Michaels on national TV on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's all I'm saying. Like AEW is
it's in a terrible situation. A lot of these stories coming out about Tony's behavior backstage and just how he's starting to really lose the plot.
And Punk talking about walking out.
Yeah. And if they lose him, that's because he won't go back to WWE. That's the beauty part.
He might.
Well, depending on with Triple H in charge, with their history.
I think he trusts Triple H more than Vince.
I don't. With their history, I don't think
either way. I don't
separates the two. Now, granted,
I don't think he needs to go back.
They could start loading the money into the Brinks truck and start getting it ready to head to Chicago.
Well, the screwed up thing is like I said though, this is the worst possible timing for AEW because we talked about one thing about WWE with Vince leaving. The biggest thing, the scariest thing about Vince leaving is not the fact Vince leaving. It's happening while AEW is in turmoil.
Yeah.
And now Triple H is not about the audience of one.
That's right. And again, a guy who did a tremendous job with NXT. And we'll talk about this later, but I have not watched any WWE programming. NXT is kind of a separate thing, and I haven't really even watched them since they switched over. But I haven't really watched any main roster
I-
programming since 2019, but I'm going
I
to
would
give it a
say-
shot.
I would say wait a little bit more.
That's what I'm going to do. That was my thing.
I
I'm
would
going to give it
I would
6
give it-
weeks.
I would say I'd
I'm going to give it
3
six
months.
just because sometimes it might take a little bit to get some of the booking.
Well,
I guess
that
I'll use the word stabilized to where it's his
Or-
vision. If it's going to be his
Yes.
vision.
and it seems like it is. I mean, like with SummerSlam,
That's
having like Io Shirai show up.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
But it's like
And a couple other people from NXT that I guess he championed.
don't be surprised if Gargano's back soon, like on the main roster.
Yeah. And again,
Like I said,
I
it's
plan on giving it
all-
6 weeks, because
I give it 3 months.
the notion, well, I'm not going to give it that long because I might forget about it by then. And maybe I won't care. A lot of other 3 months from now is going to be, I'm looking at the calendar. 3 months from now, we're talking the beginning of December. We're talking the best time of the football season for the NFL, the bowl season getting ready to begin for college football, the World Cup this year because of Qatar.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's going to be a
people-
tough time to care
and
about WWE.
And that's I can talk about World Cup for 30 seconds as you can. It's like people were giving them flack from having it. I mean, I get it for having where it is. I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's like the time of year. It's like, guys, you guys like Qatar gets to be like 140 this time of year.
Oh yeah, it was just they just didn't want it to be there, to begin with. But
That's
For
what I'm saying.
WWE
They're in a good spot. They're in a phenomenal spot right now.
they are extremely lucky too. If this happened, Vince leaving amid the turmoil about the sexual improprieties and everything, if this happened at a time when there was a competent second promotion out there, they would be in real trouble just
If
because
this happened 2 years ago, they'd be in serious problem.
you're right. You're absolutely
Is that
right.
a Roots of
But
the Fight shirt, by
because-
the way?
What?
Is that a Roots of the Fight shirt I see you were wearing?
Oh yeah,
Got
got my Kronk shirt.
That's just
Got my Kronk shirt on. But yeah, I mean, you're right though. But now because of all the turmoil, and you know what? I mean, Tony brought a lot of this on himself. It was a silly idea. First of all, the moment I heard that he was going to be the guy in charge, or as much in charge as he could be of the booking, as well as all the other shit, not a good idea. Never a good idea.
I have to ask. I wish I could get Mookie on, but he's obviously super busy. He's
Oh, he'd be
actually-
great. He'd be
he's
great
obviously-
for this.
I don't know what you could talk about though.
What?
I don't know what you could talk about though, because he's wicked. But like I said, like his like, but what I was gonna say is like, yeah, I agree with you. Like he's gonna probably be so stressed out, something bad's gonna happen. Like he's gonna eat a gun for lunch.
Well, and
But-
especially because of a lot of the reports of him really starting to lose his composure, his temper, if you will, lashing out. Some of these, the one I heard about where he had to literally chase down somebody who was walking out. I'm done. I'm out of here. They didn't mention really who it was, so take it for what it's worth. But it's come along with a lot of these other stories that are coming out where it's he's starting to look really overrun.
God, I mean, yeah, but plus you got the whole thing like we talk about with Triple H in charge now. It's like how many AEW guys went to AEW because of Vince McMahon?
That's the first thing I thought when they made him. When I saw that he was going to be what was it? They made him the
Head of
VP of
creative-
talent relations first, and then head of creative. And that's when I wondered, wow, you might see a mass defection from AEW.
Yeah, I was like, you might get a few.
It won't happen right away, but depending on
Okay,
their contracts.
Maybe they made pull Kevin Nash and go, I'm not really interested in wrestling it.
Yeah. Boy, if only Lloyd's of London were around these days, they'd have a better out. Everybody get those policies.
God, yeah.
Man.
I mean, what I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me, in my opinion, for AEW is how WWE got Cody Rhodes back.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince did everything to cater to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they kept his song. They paid him a whole shitload of money. But they're doing everything. They kept the gimmick the same.
Yeah.
And you know what though? He just earned, and the worst thing that happened to AEW is he earned so much credibility for that Hell in a Cell match.
I didn't know. Obviously, again, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't see it, but yes, I did hear that, and I saw
That he did with
clips.
Did you
I
see the
know
pictures?
that was disgusting. I'm worried about that, but I'm assuming I have to assume because it's in WWE, and as you mentioned earlier, Wellness Policy, they actually understand the need for proper medical supervision. That I have to assume it was safe for him to work with that. It sure as hell didn't look it, but I give him props for that. But he showed it. Cody showed in AEW that he was nuts, that he was willing to do crazy shit. I mean,
But that's
the-
next
the-
level, man.
Well, but I mean, think about some of the stuff he did in AEW where he took the face plant into the when he took the face plant into the walkway against Jericho, the moonsault off the cage against Wardlow, getting suplexed through the flaming table against Andre,
But it's
against
not
Andrade,
torn,
excuse me.
it's
but
not a torn pec tendon.
I know. I'm just saying he's done a lot of crazy shit already, so it was more in character. To be fair, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't
Totally
surprised when I saw it. I went ew when I first saw it because tell me that's not jarring the first, because I didn't even realize he had a torn pec. I don't watch WWE.
Well, because they didn't announce it, they announced it on their site.
That's
that
right.
He hurt.
I didn't
they
even
hurt
realize
it.
he had it. So the first time I saw it, that was
like, what the hell
my
happened?
literal reaction was, oh. And then I realized what it was. I thought, because I didn't know what it was at first, because I didn't know what the photo was. It was from the beginning of the match. And then when when my brain processed it for a couple seconds, I'm like, oh God, he's really hurt. Because I
that's the
know
thing, I was like,
what that looks
when
like.
they announced it, everyone thought because they announced it like on Tuesday that he got hurt.
Yes.
I think it was like, yeah, it was like Tuesday before the Hell in a Cell match.
I missed that. Yeah. I
Well,
missed that
it's more so
story when it first came out. So yeah, I was
people thought it was
caught
a
off
work.
guard. And I would have too. I mean, why wouldn't you? Because WWE's done that
That
kind
for
of stuff plenty
40
of
years.
times. Plenty of any promotion really does it every now and again.
Right, but I talked to a guy who worked with him. I'm like, if that's a work, that's the best makeup job ever. That lady should get an Oscar.
I agree. And oh man, but I have to assume because that they worked it in a way that was safe for them. And if not,
it's everything. It's so show like it was like they weren't like. I mean, they did a little like touch and
they
go,
did a few things. Yeah, from some of the clips I saw, they obviously had to do
they
some
also
crazy stuff.
Well,
but
they
didn't
also
go too overboard.
Well, they also figured that it's like when Triple H tore his quad for the first time, it's like it can't tear anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, as sick as that sounds, it's like. But the worst thing that happened to Cody Rhodes was Vince McMahon losing power. For the whole promo he had. Not because Triple H is going to bury Cody Rhodes. I don't think he's going to do that at all. I think he's going to make like $1 million.
I don't think Cody would have. It would anyway. Yeah.
I thought if he didn't get hurt for that match, I think they were going to have a Cody Roman match. I think they're going to have Cody.
Yes, absolutely.
That was the plan.
Absolutely, with the big WrestleMania return and everything. Absolutely.
And it would have worked.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, he was believable and now,
and especially after and if only they would have kind of kept with that. If only they were able. And I hope they can resurrect for Cody. To be honest, I kind of hope they can resurrect that momentum because that is a good match.
Have him come
now with the storyline. They got the storyline right there. This guy. This is how much Cody wants it. He wants it so bad.
But would you have him drop the? Do you have him drop the title to Cody or like with us?
I don't know.
With all the returns now, like you have Karrion Kross coming back unexpectedly, who still has indie dates booked. Okay.
Correct. I don't know. First of all, I wouldn't have him drop it to Cross if that's where you kind of if you were leaning in that direction. I wouldn't.
They not yet.
I don't know because I never was. Here's the deal with them. It's a great. I don't like using the word act, but you know what I mean when I say that.
Yes.
They're great together. They are. But the matches, him in the ring in general, meh. He didn't impress me the way other people in NXT have impressed me.
I think the thing that would help them too is I think the way they should do it is kind of like the John Cena Rumble win.
Oh, okay.
When he tore his pec. Well, in the sense have Cody be number 30.
Okay.
Win it. Mm-hmm. And then have the next pay-per-view say, you know what? forget my WrestleMania moment. I want Roman tonight.
Yeah.
At the next pay-per-view, and have him win it there. Yes, it's not as big as WrestleMania because they can't have it because it's gonna be Rock Roman.
And see, that's the main thing where I think there'd be a problem, just because
I don't want the Rock to. I mean, they're not gonna have.
Oh no,
The
I
Rock
agree.
beat
I'm just
Roman.
saying, for Cody, if we've learned anything from Cody, from interviews and everything over the last 3 or 4 years, he would want WrestleMania if he was going to get that win. And I think he would probably be a guy to fight for that, just because I just see that being the case. I know he would not win that fight.
Perfect.
He would not win that fight.
Well, it's so perfect to have Rock and Roman because you can have him be like it because it's in LA. It's perfect for everything.
So are they really going to be able to get The Rock? Are they really going to be able to get his? Because I remember the whole thing with what happened with Cena.
Yeah, they won't waive him.
Yeah, what was it where he injured his rib during one of the Cena matches, I think, or something, and it screwed up the.
He tore the abdominal muscle for Hercules.
That's it, and that screwed up the scheduling and everything. And okay, well, I mean, Brock's pretty much the only big name guy that Roman hasn't faced at this point,
especially
anyway, other than Cody, I guess.
And it makes it infinitely better that it's family.
Yes, because that has that entire angle.
That's why I said.
Boy, I hope they show that footage of. I really hope.
The Rock or Young Rock.
No. I really hope that if they do a segment with The Rock during the build-up to Rock and Roman, where The Rock shows the footage of that Royal Rumble. I forget which year it was.
2015
in Philadelphia. Yep, where Nick was there, I believe.
And
with AC. And yes, Ed Marley, where they even tried to bring Rock out to get the crowd on Roman's side, and it didn't work. And I honest to God hope that they use that with The Rock, just using it as a reason to say, you're not as good as me. Even I couldn't help. You're sorry. Something like that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool in that sense.
And he could bounce right off of saying, yeah, that's because I was trying to be a face. That's when and I mentioned this, my names. That's when Vince tried to keep me as a face when I was a natural born heel.
Yeah, and from everything that I've read and the little bits that I've seen, right when I leave, he starts actually getting to do what he should have done for years and starts doing some of the best work of his career.
Despite what some people think, I mean, some of my friends, like Roman is the best heel in wrestling.
Yeah, and boy, who would have thought having Paul Heyman as your manager for years would help? There's no way that has not helped, that is not rubbed off.
Oh, infinitely.
And it's tremendous. It looks like it's tremendous, and I'm glad for the Usos too that they.
And just think, he's got the third longest, I think, either third or fourth longest WWE title reign.
He's been champ for
almost over 3 years.
I was gonna say they finally did it. My entire life as a wrestling fan, I can remember the 2-year mark being the
gold standard.
Exactly, sort of like that holy grail from yesteryear that's never coming again. And yeah, he did it. They've done it well. From everything I've gathered, they've done it well.
The best thing they did was I mean, pisses off some indie fans, but the first 6 months, he'd be like every indie indie darling. I know you get that term. But he'd be like AJ, he'd be Brian Danielson. He just I think Cesaro the matches were great too. That's the beauty of it too. The matches were great. He got credibility. And Roman was holding his own.
Yeah, I mean, go figure. The moment I stopped watching, but
maybe there's a reason why.
Yeah, maybe. But for Vince at WWE, I mean, so lucky that all of this did not happen at any other time where a company could actually take advantage of them in a moment of vulnerability. Because it's I mean, the PR. It still might not be over, just because we still don't know quite the conclusion of a lot of this stuff.
I don't think it's going to end well for Vince, period.
No, I don't think it is either.
Or John Laurinaitis, but
good old Johnny Ace. That was a funny one too. Vince, I mean, what a moron move. He cost you $1 million+ once already for this, and you're going to bring him back. And I don't think it was even 2 months after he brought him back. That this whole
Oh,
thing.
it was about
I don't
that.
think it was
The worst.
amazing.
I mean, the crazy thing, like I said, is like there's no second again anywhere.
Yeah.
Like even New Japan's taking massive hits.
Yes. Yes. Just because. Yeah, because of a lot. For the U.S. expansion, just did not work. I don't think they had it really thought out as well as they would have
Well, it's
wanted.
like WWE going there in the sense of like
Yeah.
you
But
guys.
I honestly think there is an appetite for their product here as far as, the pro wrestling audience, but
well,
I don't
the
think they
problem is
had it planned out right. For
The
one
problem
thing,
is
for how they
one-
were going to do it.
it's a way different crowd, as we've established 1,000 times before. Two, it's just like it's the way different crowd. It's like when you get over in Japan, you can't get over in the States all the time. I mean, the greatest
Correct,
example, and I will die on this hill, is Kenny Omega. I'm sorry. Yes, it caters to the hardest of hardcore. And I'm not that's not a snipe at you at all, I swear.
Oh, I saw the light on. I mean, for Kenny, he turned out to be a product of the locker room he was in, because his best work was when he was working with the New Japan heavyweights. Moment.
God, yeah.
I did not,
I agree. I said, oh God,
Yeah,
you're right.
because his junior stuff in New Japan was not ever really that great. So a lot of the matches he had on the indies and whatnot. Looking back, it's like, boy, yeah, he had great matches with Sami Zayn. He had great matches with other guys, and then he gets the slot in AEW, this time to be a star, and a lot of that shine came off instantly. First of all, I had never watched him on a weekly basis.
Do you think it was
heard him
oversaturation of him too?
Yeah, and I noticed a lot of things. I mean, so I didn't even care that he came back recently. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, the same way. It's like, oh, he came back. Well,
It's not that big a deal and especially because they're doing it for a 6-man. Again, another bonehead idea. If you actually believe this guy is a star and has value, then you would bring him back for a singles match to get that value. There's no value anymore in the elite. That time is gone, where those three as a trio have value. That's gone. That's been gone.
I love Jim Ross to death. I think he's one of the greatest of all time for like anything he's ever done. But hyping up the Punk versus Moxley match as the biggest match in AEW history.
I know. He's trying to do his job. Yeah. That's
have Tony Schiavone do it. He's really good at it.
I agree with you there. Tony should do it. At least then you can believe that Tony really means it. You can tell JR is doing it because he's a pro. He believes in earning his paycheck. Tony legitimately likes a lot of this horse shit on their show.
It's not even the horse shit. It's just more like Tony would hype up every WCW show. Like, this is the biggest WCW show in history.
Well, and he's doing a lot of that at AEW as well. That style has not left him.
And Ric Flair's last match show.
Yeah.
Like,
the less said about that, the better.
I will give Tony Schiavone credit for not being in the game, for lack of better words, for over a decade, almost 2.
Yeah.
I mean, he was calling baseball. Yeah,
he still does some Georgia Bulldogs football on the radio. Actually, I think.
I don't doubt it.
I believe
it's probably in his contract.
I maybe, and Atlanta is not exactly that far from Jacksonville, where a lot of the AEW stuff takes place from. But yeah, I mean, AEW, they're in the perfect spot to take advantage, and they can't because of their own ineptitude. And first of all, again, Tony brought it on himself. He took on too much responsibility, and he put the wrong people. He listened to the wrong people from.
He has too many wrestlers in charge in spots.
Well, and not only that, but the wrong wrestlers. You're going to put wrestlers in position of power. Make the right choices.
Have guys that you've wrestled in America regularly. Like, I'm sorry, Kenny Omega. No, he should not be an executive vice president.
And the Bucks, as EXVPs with a lot of the stories, and you and me, we're not even insiders or anything like that. And we've read stories over the years about what pricks these guys are to a lot of the indie promoters and to New Japan. There's a reason why.
Or Impact, even.
That's right. Impact, when they were, I forgot. That's right. They were there briefly.
Generation Me.
That's right. New Japan. But there's a reason why it was a package deal and they didn't want any of them in the country anymore. Yeah, they tried to get Kenny. They definitely got Kenny to stay out, but I don't think they want the Bucks back either. Otherwise, they probably would have called him by now.
I think Vince bluffed the hell out of Tony Khan on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he got him good. He must have got him really good because he must have. He offered him a house all four of them to come and.
Yeah, I mean, so right from the beginning, it was the weirdest thing is
But
that for Tony's booking, my God, you would think experience would make somebody better.
especially
It
when you got
hasn't.
Kevin Sullivan there too.
And it just hasn't happened. This is, I told my brother, and I stand by this, that the way that AEW has been booked since Punk and Danielson got hurt, and I know Danielson came back recently and Punk just did, but from the time
For
they
now.
got hurt a couple months ago, the last couple months, it's been booked exactly like ECW if somebody did not learn any of the lessons from ECW's existence.
Well, my biggest production problem with sports and is this little hole now,
Mhm.
and this is his direct jab at AEW bigs. Have you been to an AEW show?
No.
Their production sucks.
Yes.
Flat
I can
out
just tell that
sucks.
from watching the television product.
They microphone. I don't know if we talked about. I don't. We talked about when they came here the first time.
Okay.
Their microphone setup is awful.
Oh, geez.
Like they were.
That might
microphoning-
explain a couple of audio things.
You're not hearing things when you
Often not
watch
that I've
AEW.
Okay.
Like when they're slamming the corner of the map for a tag team match and they're microphoning that, it's like that makes no sense.
Yeah. Okay. I
Like,
see what
like
you're getting at.
Like the audio production flat out sucks.
See, and that's their entire television production. They
Yes.
did not get an A team. And there's something I got to admit, this has been on my mind lately when I've been thinking on this subject for AEW in particular. Let me throw this at you for a second because Tony started this thing and it started basically in the spring of 2019 with the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, I believe was kind of the first AEW type show. HBO Sports ceased to exist the previous winter. Am I crazy for thinking that if I were in Tony Khan's shoes playing with that kind of money, that I might have looked into that when I'm assembling my television production team? Considering these guys, considering that team had done boxing events for years and years,
Decades.
and, sporting event and other potential. I can't remember if there was any other real sporting events with that team, but they had done boxing broadcasts, which
They know combat sports.
Exactly. So I don't think I'm crazy to think if I'm playing with billionaire money, I might take a real good look at that production team and see whose contract is up and who's already signed up somewhere else, and at least bring in people with real experience doing combat sports. And it's not like they had their last show was in December of 2018 and they had done the Canelo Triple G rematch that fall. So they had done a big pay-per-view showcase type event. So, I mean,
Even if they hadn't.
no, I agree. But I mean, it's something that I would think if I was in that position, it's staring you.
Yeah.
Sports-based presentation. Is that what he said? Sports-based presentation. It's stared right in the face.
We
he didn't
talked
see
about
it.
with like, I don't know if you know, I talked about it was just Mary Lee and I talking about with like, yeah, it's like, it was Mary Lee and I talking about with my friend John Paul, who's now was the assistant golf coach at University of Texas. Now he's the coach at UNLV.
Okay.
But because he was my buddy, I knew him from the Golf Channel.
Okay.
But the point though was like when like NBC temporarily lost the golf rights to
Mhm.
Fox, like the U.S. Open.
Oh yeah.
It's back on NBC now, but like,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Fox
but that's
absolutely
right.
sucked at it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like they're
They
like, I mean, they're
brought
like,
fucking Nance on one day to do some
Yes.
commentary on
I
his
want-
day off.
I wonder how much they paid Nance to show for that one day, and they had to
That'd be
put
hilarious.
CBS low.
That'd be
But no, anyway, but my whole point's like it goes back to like the we talked about because I talked to JP like over the phone about like the LIV tour. I know you've
Oh yeah, I've been paying attention.
it's the same difference.
Yes,
They're doing a lot of things. They're not doing a lot of things right. They're AEW.
exactly. And that was the exact opposite of what they promised from the beginning. And it was destined to never be there.
I liked what they've done for getting talent. I like that. I mean,
Yes.
and then not just throwing money, but
There's
okay, cool.
there
You've
are
got
some
established talent.
instincts there.
The thing I would do next, and one of our good friend Rob Cobb's person he hired on the Inscriber was and he fights me with it because he's like pro LIV because he's like, I want the PGA to like go down in flames for whatever reason. I'm like, what I would do next, and I would like to see. I wish WWE would even consider doing it if they thought the guys had talent. What I would do if I was the LIV tour is like, okay, it's August now, but I've done it in June. Oh, here's the top 50 college golfers that are seniors. Here's $5 million to show up on our tour. I mean, you're offering Tiger Woods $900 million to do that. Why not spend $250 million on 50 golfers instead of one Tiger Woods, and you might get one Tiger, the next Tiger Woods out of it,
or maybe the next Tiger and the next Phil.
Yes.
Go.
That's my point. It's like, okay, you give them a 2-year, $10 million deal. You get $5 million each year. I mean, you're throwing money around. What the hell not? We're throwing billionaires' money around.
Exactly.
But it goes back to like the production's like,
yeah.
As soon
you
as
have so
like,
much money and you're not using it. You're
right.
using it irresponsibly.
Right. It's like it go back to what we were talking about with Tony Khan shut down with like HBO Sports is like hire them all.
I would have. That would have been my move.
I would.
And one thing.
Or if they're under contract, how much is HBO? How much is it to buy this person's contract?
Yeah, exactly. And with considering the people that owned HBO at the time were getting rid of the sports department to begin with, they probably would have let them go cheap.
Or if anything, but it goes back to what I've said, exactly what happened in 1994 when NBC lost the AFC package.
Yep.
And CBS lost the AFC. And remember the NFC was, for people that don't remember, that are younger than us, the NFC used to be on CBS.
Yep. And the AFC was on NBC.
Yeah, right. And then it switched to the AFC went to CBS and the NFC went to Fox.
Yep.
What Fox did before the NBC left, the AFC left, the AFC left CBS or
NBC they left NBC for CBS.
Right. Before this happened. So like they bought, basically what they did was like they contacted CBS and goes like, since it was like 2 years later that's when NBC went to CBS. They can't be before that, Pat Summerall and John Madden were under long-term deals, big money. They contacted CBS. How much would it take to buy these two guys out?
Yeah.
Because we want them as our lead guys for the NFC. So we have a continuity between the NFC. So people are like, hey, it's a familiar face.
Correct. And with AEW, that's why they got smartly. That's why they got JR and they were able to get Tony and everything. They made a lot of the weird thing about AEW.
They made a lot of good moves, but they did a lot of dumb.
And the dumb ones are catching up with them, and they're not bringing
Kevin Sullivan. I wouldn't say it's ECW. It's WCW 2001.
Yeah, it's even past. Yeah, I mean,
where it's a good product, yes, but it's just stale.
There is still, and I'm glad they're releasing people. The problem, one of Tony's biggest problems has been that he just doesn't like firing people. He'll send somebody home and let them play out their contract. What he should do is start firing people so you can bring in people a little quicker and maybe start developing them instead of letting these contracts run out for 6 months to a year. And a good example of that is on Rampage the other night. I noticed Sonny Kiss was in the main event. Sonny Kiss hadn't been on TV in what? A year?
6 months? A year.
Probably a year.
You're right.
But there's still time left on the contract, apparently.
Well, I'm laughing about too is like when we watching this for opportune time. The worst thing that AEW had to do is mention that MJF thing was a work.
Yeah, that was a mistake. That was a mistake because they had real hype, word of mouth, momentum. They had it all with that because of how secretive everything was. If they were really trying to make that into a shoot, they handled that well.
They did.
And then like everything in AEW Jericho's the biggest culprit of this, but just like everything in AEW, when they do something that makes people really believe and really get behind it, they tell them all. Yeah, they just tell them, yeah, it was just this. Oh, this is how we did it. Oh, you stuntman for this stuff. And I just don't understand why. It makes no sense. None at all. And MJF still hasn't been back on television.
I think he's due back any week.
He'd better, because it's gone back. Boy, the fast forward material it slipped below 50 for the first time, 50% for the first time in a while, and that has not been the case for a while. They need the good. I'm glad that Punk's back. I'm glad that. Well, I'm kind of not glad that Danielson's back, considering the stupidity with how they're booking him right now.
I mean, I don't. I mean, are they going to punish Punk by? I don't know what the hell they're going to do with Punk and Moxley. I literally don't know what they're going to do.
I mean, to be honest, the smart move.
I don't care
is to get the belt back onto Punk. To be honest, that is the smart move because Moxley. First of all, Moxley's already had an actual title reign, and there's just
I didn't want Moxley to have the title to begin with.
I know, but considering when they brought him in and the fact they were going.
No. I meant when the
title. They had no choice. I don't think they had. I don't know if they really had much of a choice because Danielson was hurt. He would have been the perfect choice, but Danielson was hurt. Punk was hurt, and other than and Omega was still out. I mean, other than Moxley, I'm trying to think of who else is at the top of the roster that would have at least something resembling credibility if they were the interim, champion.
But have Tanahashi be it.
Well, language barrier. First of all, more than anything, he was probably only scheduled to be a couple of dates, and he's back in Japan because I think the G1 was going to be starting right around that time, and he was around for that. That just finished up this past week. I think that's what that was about. I think he was there specifically to do the job to Punk in Chicago, and since that didn't get to happen, they did it that way. But I don't know anybody else on the AEW roster they could have inserted.
I would have done balls to the wall, like have him go to New Japan and defend it.
That wouldn't have been a bad idea. That would not have been a bad idea, in my opinion. If they could have done it
to CM Punk.
Yeah, and if they could have pulled that off, but again, Tony and none of the people working in AEW, unfortunately, seem to have a great deal of imagination when it comes to this kind of stuff. Thinking like that, they don't seem to have that. They really don't. They seem like their best strategy is copying shit they've seen in the past and sometimes just acting like it's new.
Like I said, the biggest AEW match is between two former WWE World Champions.
I know. What can I tell you? Now, granted,
I would love to see I would be fine with Punk Danielson.
That would have been great. And to be fair, we might still get that. I still would not be surprised if we got that this year. There's 2 pay-per-views left in the year for them. They got the one coming up, and they got the one in, I think, November. I wouldn't be surprised if we got that one, to be completely honest.
Hell, I mean,
Miro that might have been the goal from the beginning.
Hell, Miro would have been a great world. If he lost the TNT title, why not make Miro the world champion?
If they'd actually booked him properly, he would have been. And I thought they were on that road earlier this year. I remember he had the feud with Eddie Kingston. Turned out a good match at the pay-per-view, and him and Danielson had a really good match as well on, I believe that was on pay-per-view as well. So I thought they were going there, and then it kind of died. Now they got this weird thing with Miro. He's feuding / not feuding with what is it, the House of Black, I believe. So again, I mean, Tony's just all over the place with the creative.
And like I said, losing Brody Lee was just, I think, the end for them. That because he would have been well, there you go. You could have had Brody Lee, he would have been perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just thinking guys
losing Brody, losing Cody, losing And again,
Well-
just getting snake bit by the injuries this year. They've had some bad luck. They've
Oh,
had some
absolutely.
bad luck, but they have not done themselves any favors. And boy, when they get gifted, their opponent's legendary boss, the biggest name, well, no, but one of the biggest names in all of pro wrestling, is being hammered for sexual misconduct and hush payments and everything. And AEW in no position whatsoever to take advantage. And that's sad because those opportunities do not come by every day when the big dog gets a bad leg.
And Tony Khan brags about being the longest active CEO.
That was such a stupid thing
Thank you.
to do. Stupid.
Oh.
Stupid.
He's joking. I don't care.
Yes, he was
joking.
joking and it was a stupid joke. I've heard that joke before. It's a stupid joke. And especially, if Tony had been around for 13 years instead of 3 years and said that, he could have gotten away with it then.
If he was Eric Bischoff in 1998.
Yeah. Or even if he was Heyman in 1998, he probably could have gotten away with it, to be honest.
Heyman would have made it funnier.
Well, of course. First of all, Heyman wouldn't have stuck with just a. Hey, you think Heyman could keep it to 240 characters? No. Total. If social media had been around,
He would have made a YouTube video and made it 10 hours long.
Exactly. Or if Twitter had been around in 98, he would have been the king of the thread.
That'd be like one of 33.
Exactly. So yeah, it would have been much more entertaining if it had come from Heyman. But yeah, just a stupid thing to say, and just a stupid thing to say. It would have been he would have done more by keeping his mouth shut.
Well,
Literally.
like I said, AEW's biggest problem is they got we said they have the worst wrestlers in charge, like executive vice presidents. At least WWE, like right now, has a lot of good former wrestlers in a lot of good spots.
Yes.
I think.
And especially as their agents. That's one thing.
Not even.
Oh, I know, but
agents,
that's one thing Vince is always, I got to admit, that's one thing Vince has always been good at is positioning the which former wrestlers he chooses or brings on as the agents for the matches. He's always had a pretty good eye there.
Well, that Triple H in charge. We'll argue. You can argue if you want, but he's in charge.
Okay, yeah.
Shawn Michaels is pretty up there too now.
Yeah, he just got promoted. I forget what he got promoted to. But you're right. I think it was.
I mean,
maybe he'll be working under Triple H. The ultimate revenge from Hunter. I worked under you when I was starting my wrestling career, and now you're going to work under me when you end.
Why is this Wikipedia so damn long? Sorry, just pitching.
Yeah. So.
Well, he's the vice president of talent development.
Okay, talent development. Okay, so
for like NXT, like he's basically
he's,
which is great.
I got no beef with it, especially if it goes back to looking like it used to.
Well, I think it's him and Hunter just collaborating. Like, hey, how are we going to do this?
And I think at the peak, that's pretty much what was going on. I believe.
Well, no, it was just
before Vince got wind of what was going on.
Pritchard.
They're doing what?
And the most amazing thing is who they got in charge of live events.
Oh shoot! I saw that story.
Jeff Jarrett.
That's right. That's why they brought him in. Yes, I remember seeing that because it went along with him being the guest rep at SummerSlam. Yes,
fucking perfect because he knows how to run because he knows live events. You can do what the hell ever you want.
Yes, absolutely. And boy,
it's one thing I will give Jeff Jarrett credit for that Ric Flair's last match because he was the perfect Southern wrestling heel.
Yes, I agree with that, and I understand every person that was involved with that in the match. I get why they were there, and I get it. But boy, at the same time,
Rick to die on a sales match.
Well,
it was sad. Though. Oh, it was. It was sad though. Like having all these people like WWE is in phenomenal shape long term, especially if Triple H is.
Oh yes, absolutely, and that's a big reason why they're going to have such a high price tag when they eventually go on the market for sale. for the whole thing. I still believe that's where it's going to
I
go.
think another thing that Tony Khan screwed up is he bought Ring of Honor.
Well, here's the thing.
If
Here's
they
the
market
thing.
it, yes,
Here's the thing.
keep it
I would have
separate.
I would have bought Ring of Honor at the beginning of this project and immediately turned it into my developmental territory. And that would have been the YouTube show. That would have been my developmental territory. That would have been where a lot of the younger guys were. And I would have brought a lot of the Ring of Honor roster up, a lot of the big guys, Briscoes, Jay Lethal, Gresham,
Except
Roosh.
for that, Gresham's probably not going to happen. That's the guy who I think walked out.
No, I know that, but I'm saying at
Okay.
the time, if I
Yeah.
bought in, the Briscoes and all those guys, I would have brought those guys in. I would have used it as my developmental.
And
be
bring it
honest.
back to pure wrestling title.
Yes. Yes,
Because you can market it as something that no one else has.
that's right. It's unique. It is unique. I agree. And I would have done it at the beginning because that would have been a better option for developmental, especially because it's still a name
Yes.
to that audience. That would have probably been the right move for
And you've
that.
had
And I
TV
would not have, and by the way, I would not have put myself, as Tony has, I would not have put myself in charge of running the thing.
You
I
know
would
who I
have-
put for charge?
off the top of my head, I don't know. Who
Regal.
would you? Ooh, that would, yes, that would have been but if in my scenario, that would not have been possible because it would have been 2019 and he still would have been
He's
in
still-
WWE.
and how bad? Speaking of Regal, how bad do you think he's itching to go back to WWE right now? Like seriously, how bad do you think he really wants to go back?
Man, they should have made him the on-air authority figure. He would have been perfect. He's already done it twice. He did it on, I believe it was Raw, and then he
Raw.
did it on NXT.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
then
he did it
back
on.
to
Yep. So I mean, so he's done it before. He's done it before. He'd be
He's
great
got-
at
I said,
it.
If he was in, they said, okay,
I
we're
thought
gonna
that's
bring
what
back-
they were going to do with him when he came in. That's what they
And that's
should have.
I am so shocked they're calling him William Regal.
Eh,
I know he's been that longer than anything, but still,
that's why. That's the only reason why. That's as far as it
I-
goes.
I always said my name's not William, it's Steven.
It's Steven. That's as far as the thinking goes. They know him as William Regal. He's been William Regal for 20 years. He's William Regal. That's as far as it goes. I'll guarantee it.
I know.
Because if it was up to him, he might be, because if it was up to him, he probably would be called Steven now. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe to be fair, maybe he's smart enough to know, hey, this is just easier to market me. People know it already.
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
guess.
sorry, Phil. I've been watching wrestling since 1988.
I know. Same here. I remember Lord Steven Regal. I remember the Blue
I
Bloods.
remember Steve Regal in WCW before he was Lord Steven Regal for that month.
I don't remember that month. I will say that.
It was literally a cup of coffee. He was wrestling as a face, and then somehow what's his name, Sir William? I forgot his
I,
but you know who I mean though. His
I
manager.
can't.
They came along and said like, "You're by the way, you're a Lord." That's how they turned to
Because I always remember Lord Steven Regal, and I remember back in 92 and 93 when he was Lord Steven. So wow, I did not remember that week. But again, a lot of things for AEW. I mean, what a time. And with Vince, and especially because
not even AEW, Impact Wrestling. I think
well,
the one thing that might come out of this more than anything with Vince gone, I think the wrestling co-op is going to happen.
it might have to.
Just to survive, for everyone to survive.
Yeah. Because and AEW, hey, we were talking about TV contracts for WWE earlier. AEW's is coming up, and let's not forget there was a regime change.
Warner Brothers doesn't want to keep them.
Yep, there was a regime change, and they're not as well liked as they once were with the big wigs at that network, with the higher ups. So yeah, that's going to be kind of an interesting proposition because it's not like AEW's setting the world on fire. It's not like there's a clamor, unfortunately, a clamoring for wrestling television. It's too bad. It's a shame, but it's the state of the business. So TV contracts, that'll be a big story in the coming years for pro wrestling. But with the Vince stuff.
Well, yes. I would say, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think the Warner Brothers are not happy with them.
No, they've done so many things that just shoot themselves in the foot.
Well, like I said,
Jericho
when
and Kingston a couple weeks ago is a good example.
like I said about age, the difference between the NFL and professional wrestling is at least the cons will get their money back from the NFL.
Yeah.
Wait,
I know.
just wait 4 years again.
And I mean, with Vince handing them this scandal, they're just handing them these hush money payments. It speaks to everything bad about Vince. It brings it right out in the public eye, and the fact that he's misappropriating company funds to do it. Amazing. And then there's the Trump connection to it. You saw that, right? Where that $5 million that apparently was de facto Trump's payment for WrestleMania 23, basically. It went to the foundation, but that was basically his payment for doing that. I mean, this story has everything. Everything. The only thing it doesn't have is the empire getting taken over by the new kids on the block. That's the only thing this story doesn't have, is that ending, and it's not going to, because Triple H and Stephanie are in charge. And that means the ship has the mothership has stabilized.
Yeah,
and,
if Triple H was still out with his heart issue, who the hell knows?
Correct. Because I'm wondering,
Nick Khan.
and who the hell knows how that would turn out?
Do
you have a full-on wrestler rebellion then?
Oh, absolutely. Because we got this guy who has no idea what the hell he's doing, who's never been a wrestler, nothing.
None.
If I was Vince in that situation, I would have called. I don't care. I would have called Jarrett, and I don't care if it's 2022. Just
I know.
Hell,
I agree.
I would make Jeff Jarrett in charge of WWE. I would trust it that much.
Hey, he did the same with Jerry when he was going through the steroid trial. So imagine if Vince had gone to jail. The mid '90s in WWE would have been a full-on Jarrett production. We might have had a world champion, Double J. That's JEFF. JRRET. That's right.
I watched his Hall of Fame stuff, like Jeff's.
Oh yeah.
When he got there for his introduction, and the guy made him spell his name, you can tell this guy's not a joke, is he? he's just smiling like,
well,
that's JEFF.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah. I mean, I did mark out for that because
he's obviously more proud of his later work.
I think he's proud. Period. I mean,
I'm not saying he's not, but I'm just saying it's kind of like how if you have several successful songs and if you're a singer and you have several successful songs, but everybody wants to hear the same one, it might get annoying after a while. It's like they might think I've done other things.
Like when I saw Metallica a week and a half ago, and they were like James Hetfield was self-relevant, which was great.
Oh,
he was like, well, because he goes like, because they played Nothing Else Matters, like, yeah, we know it's our biggest song. We're not gonna play it again. He just said that it was like the third song in too.
Yeah, sometimes, but and for Vince, a lot of it too, it's a scandal that's going to keep reemerging because there are some investigations that I don't know if they're still going on or not because
they're going to open Pandora's box on him.
And then Real Sports, who knows what direction they were looking in when it came to this, because
I mean they're going to go back to the Ring Boy scandal. I guarantee they will. They'll bring it up.
They might not have to because of a lot of his own sexual impropriety, the plane ride from hell, stuff involving that might come up. Stuff from that time period that was mentioned, just some stuff on that episode. Lesnar alone implicated in several stories over the years about flashing the women or trying to get maybe a little fresh, so to speak, with the women. So you're right, though. There's a lot there that might get a little light shined on it that they would otherwise want in the dark. And yet, again, there's nobody there to take advantage. That's the main problem.
I think the biggest problem would be like if WCW is still around, they'd be in the same problem.
Correct. I agree
Because-
with you there.
just
That's why
because-
I said there. That's why I always use the word competent when I was, or competent, or
Well,
just
and-
well run. It's just
well, I messed up more so because, like, Bischoff was no saint to this stuff.
no, absolutely not. And he was
And
an
they're prob-
idiot at trying to manage his locker room, at trying to.
Well,
set-
I meant more the sex clubs he went to and all that stuff.
Oh, sure. I've heard some stories.
So-
I've heard some of the stories.
And if they're true, like Vince will go full Trump and go, what about him?
Yeah, exactly.
And then also like, oh, this is a smaller company. Yes, he's trying to return, but this is a small fish. We'll take care of him.
yeah. I just
It's a cluster. It is.
the whole thing is just amazing. This scandal. Again, it has almost everything that a crazy pro wrestling scandal that you could ask for out of a crazy pro wrestling scandal. It's got almost everything. It's got money and sex, corporate intrigue, which is
Surprisingly,
rare
no
in pro
coke-
wrestling.
But how is there no
Big
cocaine
names.
involved? That's my only
How-
question. There's no cocaine involved. How is there not?
Because Vince, I don't, because it's Vince.
Vince is
He's
strange.
not a druggie. He's not a drug or not even a big alcohol guy either, like
Well,
Trump.
Well, that's probably because he also after taking the heart attack in the strip club, kind of think ruined everything for
Yeah, probably.
him.
Probably.
And
Probably.
I can understand
but,
that.
I mean,
mean,
the biggest story in decades, clearly, definitely the biggest story since the end of the Monday Night War definitely pro wrestling in America, probably in the world, to be honest.
Sheer WWE story. It's probably the second biggest story in the last. I would say the biggest story in the last 40 years since Vince took over from his dad.
Yep. Yeah.
But overall, I would say that the end of the war. I mean, it's crazy to think though. It's like the wars, like
It
the
ended
war
with
was-
a thud.
Not even that. It was not even a. I mean, can you consider it a war? Because they made it seem like it always felt longer than
For 2 years.
10 years.
Yeah, that's
Well, I
true.
mean,
It was
I just mean the sheer-
truly. They call it a war because of how long they were on TV directly against each other, on
And they were doing the same
night.
competition. Like, I get that. It'd be like the NFL, and USFL. I get that, but
But you're right.
nothing-
It technically lasted,
1991 to 2001.
and not even that. It wasn't even
And
a
that's
war
me-
until they came
No,
on to Nitro. To
until
be
bo-
honest,
Well, till they both were on network TV.
so
Primetime
let's go
live.
from that. So September '95 to March of '91. So 5.5 years.
2001.
But it was only a
You said
competitive.
2001. You can't go backward, Phil. This is WCW.
my
Like, title changes.
My bad. But
You
it was
get my
only a
joke?
competitive war for.
3, maybe.
I'd top out at 3 because 96
I would
they
say
made
90,
the ground.
I would say when the NWO was formed, July 96.
So July 96 when they were formed
to July.
The finger pole.
January, I was like, January
The finger pole.
4th, 1999. Don't make
so
41
2.5
title.
years. 2.5 years. That's it. That's how long it was competitive. And then after that, the WWE pulled away, and that was it.
And I was speaking of WCW, and I would kill to get Jeff Jarrett on a show, because I told him I actually messaged him on LinkedIn and asked him, like, I want to talk about, like, I'm not gonna mention like Vince McMahon. This was they weren't really on speaking terms. I'm like, I don't care what happened in Cleveland at all. I want to talk about the biggest, most serendipitous moment in wrestling history. And he actually replied, "What's that?" Like, the night you showed up in Buffalo 2 days after the Music City Miracle, and you're wearing a Frank Wycheck jersey.
Yep.
That's more serendipitous than AJ Styles making his debut in Orlando for WWE.
Yeah. I agree. And
That
that's
is
pretty
more-
close. And that's pretty close. But I agree
it
with
is.
you. The Wycheck thing. That was pretty funny.
But you could have scripted that better.
No.
I
No,
would
and
love
he
to
was
sit
smart
down with
to
that.
do it. That was pretty good.
I mean, he's a Tennessee boy. He's in
Yep.
Buffalo. How
It's
he made it
perfect.
out of the city? How he made it out of the city of
Perfect.
Buffalo? I still wonder.
Well, WCW can afford security back then. They had good security. I'm
Doug
assuming.
Dillinger?
Oh, hey, don't mock Doug Dillinger. He did a good job.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were aware. I'm sure
So
they
like,
were aware the moment they saw the Wycheck jersey. I'm sure they were aware we're gonna need some extra bodies outside tonight.
Can you
Getting
call-
Miss Jarrett to the car.
can you please issue a state trooper without allegiance to the Buffalo Bills, please?
Yeah, well, that's gonna be tough. That might have been tough, especially after that. We're talking what 2 days after?
Yeah, it
after
was
that.
literally-
That might have been
Yeah,
tough.
it was the music moves of Saturday. And Monday
It was
Night
the
Show
very it was the
Buffalo.
following Monday, I believe it was. Yeah.
It was 2 days
So-
later. It was a little fresh.
Oh
It was-
yeah.
And you had all the Bills players in the front row, which made it 1,000 times better. At least the Bills might make fun.
That
So,
would have
like,
that might have given security a little test that night. Then, if
yeah,
they had done
yeah. I
that.
was going to ask you. So I should ask who I think had a hard time getting out of the building. Shawn Michaels in Montreal or Jeff Jarrett in Buffalo. Close. That had to be close.
I think probably Jarrett, just because I think when Brett stayed. Oh no, wait, no, that's right. They didn't leave right away. That was
He
Hebner.
did.
That was Hebner. Yeah, Michaels
Well,
did.
Sean left
Hebner
right away
did.
too.
Hebner
Sean got
did.
they got Sean the fuck out of that building fast.
No, I don't think they did, because there was that footage in Wrestling with Shadows of Brett's wife, not cussing them out, but talking them down after it happened. They were still in the building. Hebner got out right away.
I think what
He
helped.
went to the back and had as I remember Cornette's
The car
telling
was-
him it. The car was ready, was already running.
I
They knew.
think they were more in shock in Montreal.
I agree. Whereas with Buffalo, it had been 2 days
Jeez.
to just let it really
Yeah.
simmer and get
Here's
that
the woo.
rage. Yeah,
Here's some hot sauce.
get that rage going. But again, it's just amazing that it's gone down this way, and
Yeah.
it's still amazing that this is what did it. You know,
Well, if
not
if
the
they
stock
said-
thing, not the federal thing, not the
If
steroids, not any of
WWE
that.
if
Hush
WWE
money.
was still if WWE was still a private company, would have
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
nothing would have happened.
No, nothing. We might have,
And-
we might have heard about it by now from
We've heard-
something leaking out, but no, nothing would happen to it.
No,
Nothing would really happen. No.
because it's a private company. He can do what the hell he wants.
That's right. That's right. But because it's Republican, boy, who would have figured? Boy,
And I still give him credit. He still owns 51% of the company.
and more importantly, he owns about, I think from what I've heard, it's like 80% of the voting stock. So they could never actually get him away that way from the company.
Right.
So he's going to get his, and you know what, to be honest, that's another reason why I think he left as quietly as he did. He knows that at some point this thing's going to be sold and he's going to get his cut because of how much of the stock he owns. And a couple $1 billion is worth leaving with my head hang.
Yeah. And
He's-
like
I think
he's not gonna go to jail.
Oh no, I don't. As far as we know, there's nothing criminal or the misappropriated funds thing. I don't know if that even. I get the feeling they're probably going to stick him just with some giant fine to make an example.
That's what I
of him.
said. They'll probably, well, they'll probably have to pay back the fine, the misappropriated funds. That's it.
Exactly.
Cool.
That's
Here-
it.
Here's 25 million if you lost.
Why? And that's the weirdest part to me. The total amount so far is 19.6. I think you and I are in agreement that even on Vince's worst days, since that company went public, he's had $19 million to his name, not company money, his money. Why did he not do this himself? And he would have avoided he would have avoided all of this. All of this would have been avoided pretty much if he had just used his own money. That's the real key to this whole thing, as far as the legalities of it that we know of. We don't know what he's paying off. We don't know specifically what he's paying off because of the non-disclosures. Obviously, in a lot of cases, it's sex, but
I think it's all it. I think it's just like stuff like that. I really do.
I know, but I think the question that some people I've heard are posing was some of these sexual, what's the word that I'm looking for? These sexual
Liaisons.
Did they end up becoming criminal in nature? Did he do things during these liaisons that could be considered criminal? I think that's what I think that's what people are kind of wondering about, because, and the one point I heard that made the most sense was, the whole thing about impropriety and adultery does not mean anything, because that marriage is not a normal marriage. They have an arrangement of some kind. We know this with Vince and Linda. Him cheating. How many years ago was it when he was just publicly admitting that he doesn't? That he cheats on her. That was a long time ago.
I think when the company first went public, I think he
that's
did
like
it all.
20 years ago. So that is not an issue. They have some kind of arrangement, obviously pay for my Senate campaign, honey, was part of it. They have some kind of
Campaigns.
arrangement. Exactly. That's right. That's right. She tried it. She tried it again and failed. So they have some kind of arrangement, and that's why they wonder. So it can't just be because it was sex. Was it sex that veered into criminal sexual behavior? And we don't know. Would it be out of character for that to have happened? Probably not, knowing Vince. Not that we don't know that he's some kind of monster predator or anything, but clearly we've seen he's a horn dog.
I think
Clearly.
if it was criminal, I think it would have got out by now.
Well, not if there's an NDA. Not if there's an NDA and the woman is actually sticking to the NDA to keep the money. That's kind of what people are wondering about. That's where the
should we transition from the NFL since we're talking about NDAs?
Yeah, why not? Seems like a good enough a transition point, since the NFL has their own NDA public relations nightmares to deal
Well,
with.
at least they sell that case with Mr. Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
I think they did.
I said when I talked about it to people that that deal in the long run is probably going to end up being the best deal that any of the sides could have got. To be honest, I know Watson was looking at a lesser suspension, but it might be a better thing for him in the long run that he's going to actually serve a longer one.
Shocked he didn't get 2 years.
I thought he was going to get the full season at least. I really did, because the NFL was pissed.
I hate
they were pissed when that ruling came down.
He sat out last year, he sat out because he wanted a new contract.
That's right. That was a voluntary. This will not be.
No, and do you hear he's playing the first game back? He's in Houston versus the Texans.
That's going to be
13. That's the game.
Sometimes life just gives you these little moments. You know what I mean?
There's things.
It's at Houston. It's at Houston.
Yes.
Oh, that crowd is going to be brutal. Oh,
I wish you. I'm gonna say they're lucky it wasn't 2 weeks earlier.
Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be pretty brutal too.
Because the Jaguars choir would have been choir boys.
Yeah.
If you didn't hear what they were, did you hear what they were chanting by any chance?
For the Jaguars?
The Jaguars fans were chanting.
When?
2 weeks ago, the second preseason game.
Oh. I think I saw
This is why we're.
I saw an article about.
This is why we're not a G-rated show. Everyone, you sick fuck. Sick fuck.
Yeah.
And that was
considering who their coach was.
And that was Jacksonville. Okay, yeah. Jacksonville, Buffalo.
Yeah,
that's like Salt Lake City compared to Las Vegas.
He's gonna have to deal with that the rest of his career. Yeah, the rest of his career.
But I will take that. I will take that $230 million fully guaranteed contract. The reason why I was suspended for 2 years is because what Cleveland did with the contract.
That was
no other reason.
I'll tell you this. My literal reaction when I saw that, I'm watching TV. I think it was Sports Center when it came on Breaking News. Might have been one of the shows. Comes on Breaking News that he got the $230 million contract. That alone was shocking.
I'm speechless.
But then the fact that it was that all of it was guaranteed. I literally said to myself, every general manager in the NFL wants to slit their throat, not their own throat. They want to slit.
They want to burn the Browns to the stadium.
They want pitchforks and torches. They just made every GM in the NFL. They just made their life infinitely harder.
Except for the
contract negotiations.
Except for the Chiefs. Except for the Chiefs and the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. Why? First of all, at the very heart of it. Hold on. First of all, at the very heart of it is if you're going to give a guy this kind of contract, I can understand from a talent perspective why you would give Deshaun Watson this kind of contract. I do not understand why you would give Deshaun Watson this kind of contract right now. Makes no sense. Not at all. With everything that's hanging over his head, you would give him a contract with everything guaranteed. You know, they didn't even know what his suspension was going to be at the time that they signed this contract. They didn't know how this was going to turn out. Or maybe they did.
I think they had an idea it was going to be a year. because the only reason I
Yeah.
say it is because he's only owed $1 million guaranteed this year
Yeah.
counts against the cap. That's why I said I was suspended from 2. So guess what? In the second
now
year,
eat it. Yeah.
now eat the $47 million for him sitting on the bench doing nothing. And I if I'm in the NFL, I'm not done with this. No, hear me out.
Okay.
It's
No,
what
I'm going to hear you out. I'm just thinking myself
I punched the Texans just as much as I did the Browns.
because they were the ones that facilitated
The facilitated and the NDAs. They had
and
30 on the
they
record,
facilitated
and
the
facility.
meetings with the masseuses to begin
Yes.
with.
So
Okay.
I go, okay, here's the deal. Guess what? You guys, so the Cleveland Browns just went 0-17 because they don't have their star quarterback, and their team's gonna be dog shit without him. They are. They're gonna be utter dog shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's
You're
why I've
gonna
heard
have-
the Jimmy G rumors for them, which is
Yeah, but-
hilarious in itself.
How can they afford all this?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's funny to me.
They're gonna have a $40 million quarterback. They're gonna have a $20 million quarterback on their
Unless
roster.
they have some kind of out for Watson's contract or
They
something.
don't.
I know. So I don't.
Unless he
I
goes
know.
to jail.
That's why that rumor makes no sense to me. But
Because
so,
they worded his contract so he only gets $1 million this year. That's the reason why they got the cap strip. But anyway, I go, okay, fine. You forfeit both of your first round picks for the next 2 years.
there you go.
There's your punishment for that. That's your punishment. So once again, the NFL draft special that we're gonna do next April, because cheap plug for something like it's like about 8 months in
about-
advance.
Yeah.
We're gonna be excited because it's only be if I had my way, it'd be 29 picks because Houston doesn't have any first round picks. Miami doesn't have their first round pick. It's gonna be really fast.
Yeah, it's gonna go by in a flash. You know,
It's a bad. It's a
he
shit
got
situation.
what was it, 11 games or 12
Yes,
games?
11
or something?
11.
11 games. Okay, well, I mean,
I-
I think at the end of the day, I believe it was 20 of the 24 civil cases he's already settled. I wonder how much that ended up costing. I mean, I'm not saying an absurd amount of money, but that probably cost.
It probably was a
something.
decent amount, especially.
I'm surprised he didn't get fined more initially either.
But he's also
That's
going
another
to
thing.
he's also going to sex therapy and all that, and it's something.
Which, okay, fine, that's good. Obviously, if he needs it, which it would appear
By
he
the way,
does.
By the way, did you hear what happened like 3 weeks when the announcement announced the suspension got announced? How long you suspended? What has happened that weekend in Cleveland?
No.
They had a massage therapist convention in town. I'm not kidding you.
I did not see that.
I'm like only
Wow.
in Cleveland.
Wow, Cleveland, stop being so Cleveland.
Yeah,
You're killing us here.
I mean, the best thing that's ever happened is the freaking Cuyahoga River's caught fire like a dozen times.
Man.
But
Yeah, that's going to be
they're
was that one year we called the Dolphins dumpster fire of a season? I think that was 2017.
when
This
they're
is going to be interesting.
Yeah,
This is going to be interesting.
Or the tank for 2 a year. It was just like 3 years ago, which we'll get to
Yeah.
shortly.
That would be.
Well, I think the NFL wanted to sell as fast because it was keep on going. But I would suspend him. I would just start conduct detrimental to the league. It made the
I'm surprised he didn't get the year. He's got good representation.
But the funny thing, I would love to have seen the original suspension be held up for the reason where he would have been for week 7.
Where
I
was
see-
that?
Baltimore versus Ravens in Baltimore.
Ooh, that would
I
be
would say-
interesting.
I flat out said, like, oh my god. I went and said, I just put out a quote down and said, tone it down a little, please. Signed every ECW fan in the ECW.
Yeah.
arena. You know what shit would have been thrown at him in Baltimore?
There's going to be, I mean,
I think every game, if he's at the game, I would say he's not allowed to travel with the team for his own safety.
for the love of God, don't put a television camera on. I know they can't
No.
help it, and they will, but don't do it. Especially on that jumbotron.
They may not.
They might not. And even if you do it on television, okay,
I-
that's what
I-
I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying, okay, that's one thing. Don't put it on the fucking scoreboard at the game. You don't do it, especially for certain
think-
crowds, because they're going to rile them up.
I
I'm talking
think-
throwing stuff, riling up.
Yes. Like I said, I think if the NFL was
The
smart,
Houston one, jeez.
I would cite they should just say straight up, this is for his own safety. We're not saying this to be petty. do not allow him to travel with the team. He can practice with the team during the season.
Yeah.
He is not
Maybe.
allowed. He's not
Maybe
allowed
because
in the
it's-
stadium during a game for his own safety.
This is pretty uncharted territory when a guy of this caliber,
this
a
is Michael Vick
quarterback,
This is Michael Vick dogfighting all over again.
and this is and I'm no
This is
offense to
worse.
dogs and no offense to dogs, but this is a lot worse because
20
again,
at
some of
least
these
24.
24 and a lot of these accusations weren't just whipping the dick out during a massage or
This is
trying
contact.
to put a lot of some of these are almost or basic. I'm not saying almost, but are basically rape.
Yeah, they're sexual assault at worst.
You know, so this is a lot bigger, I think, than. But you're right. As far as a quarterback and a name in the prime of his career, yes, this is Vic in the dogfighting scandal, but this is worse. And this is going to cause. And this is and boy, and. I'm telling you, that contract that's going to haunt that franchise for.
You should already have.
Just from a PR perspective, it's going to haunt them for a long time. Oh, you're the guys that gave Deshaun Watson $250 million after he touched 24 women improperly, or however they're going to word it. This will follow them.
Even
not to mention, it's going to follow them for just the stupidity of the moment.
Yeah, I told Rob Cobb, I'm like, if you want a good job right now, a good paying job, apply for the Browns to be the head of PR.
No kidding.
Holy shit!
Whoever
you will get a whole shitload of money. You might get Deshaun Watson contract for that.
Oh my God!
Put that fire out, Phil.
Yeah, that's going to be a 5 alarm for a while.
Yes, like you said, it could bankrupt the team. Like it really could,
and especially because they are going to be garbage by the time he gets back. They're not.
I mean, wait. It's Cleveland. They're always going to be garbage.
But they've made the playoffs twice in the last 3 years, I believe it is, which means they're not Cleveland garbage anymore, but they will be by the time he gets back because you said, they've got nothing at quarterback.
But not even that, like the problem is when he comes back and he's okay, he hasn't played in 18 games.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot. And you're giving the guy again $250 million. Why the hell I would give him incentives.
Yeah, I might give him $250 million down the line if he's able to get past this thing and perform, but not right now.
I would give him a 2-year, $20 million deal, saying here's the deal. If you do well, you got $10 million a year for the first 2 years. If you're suspended, okay, cool. We can eat that. It's not gonna kill us. We can build a team around you. Well, year 3, there's a team option. If you do well enough, we will give you $50 million a year.
Nobody has ever accused the Browns front office of being super intelligent. Let's just put it that way.
It's not the Browns.
It's maddening.
It's a whole damn city.
I agree. They can't help themselves in the sports.
They can't get out of their own damn way.
Exactly. They can't. Whether it's LeBron and the Cavs during those years, whether it's the Browns, whether it's the Indians, or excuse me, Guardians. I'm working on that too. Don't worry. It's a history. It's a history, and I mean the latest and maybe greatest chapter of stupidity from the Browns. This is next level.
I don't know how they don't okay, they give 3 first-round picks too.
Again, it gets better.
I mean, I get it. It was a weak quarterback class this year. It was the weakest I've seen it in years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But next year is going to be better.
You could have DJ's. Fine. You shit the bed for a year. You pick over 1 again, but you take CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. You've got a local kid. You can make a shitload of money, and he's better than any quarterback you've probably had since Tim Couch.
That's right. And they'll have proof of that. I'm going to assume by the time next year rolls around for the draft, because Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh, it's the same principle. Get the hometown kid, great quarterback, sell some tickets. And I think that's what's going to happen this year in Pittsburgh. And I think you're right. Once Cleveland's done shitting the bed this year, that might be the route that they should take. Because
the problem is, the only problem with that is that pick goes to Houston.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For the next 2 years.
Well,
I mean, not for nothing, but he comes back this year. Mm-hmm. I said, what are you going to do if he plays awful?
That's true. After missing a season and a half by that, no more than
it's season 2/3.
Correct. You're right. There's going to be rust. And how if there's rust and
Who is catching the ball for Cleveland right now? Like, I'm dead serious. I cannot name a receiver they've got.
I'm gonna check their depth chart because I can't off the top of my head. I can't either. I think I can't. You're right.
I'm not.
Boy,
I'm not
that's a
gonna be-
great sign.
I mean, and Nick Chubb wants to be traded. Their best player on their team right this second.
Boy, it's going to be a disaster for them this year.
I got it right
unless
here.
Oh, okay.
Dalen
Oh,
Baldwin.
Peoples Jones. That's right. He's about and to be honest, that him, David Bell,
Amari Cooper.
that's it.
Yeah. They've got 3
That's it.
maybe good receivers.
Now, Cooper's good. Even with his issues.
He's in
with the
Cleveland
injuries.
though.
I know. I know. You can only be as good as the guy throwing to you. I agree. Peoples Jones is fine. He's fine.
Again,
Yeah, they're not stacked. They don't have the depth there.
they also
and-
have they also lost 2 centers already for the year.
Yeah. They did not think this through with
No.
this contract.
They-
I mean, I don't, and to be honest, I don't know why they wouldn't have at least waited it out, because if they actually wanted Jimmy G potentially, if they hadn't have signed Watson, they
It was-
could have theoretically gone after him.
And gave up like a 2nd-round pick
Exactly. Given up less and gotten
for
him.
a lot more.
And to be honest, they would have dodged this PR nightmare that they put themselves in for giving him such a big contract, all of it guaranteed, when he's facing what he's facing. And at the time, we didn't know a ton of the info at the time. We didn't know anything about how long he was going to be even suspended for. That was
Right.
the main thing people were talking about at
mean-
the time. You're going to pay him $250 million to sit for a whole year? Because most people thought he would get the full year.
Or like I said, or like I mean, I maybe been a little vindictive, but 2 years could have been not around the realm of stupid.
I mean, and the fact that the NFL was so openly, Goodell too, was just so openly angry at the ruling, does say that there was a lot more there than just
Well, you got to
puffs
figure.
of smoke.
Well, I think people don't realize, and people are saying like, I mean, I hate people to defend Deshaun Watson for the record. I'm flat out, I'll flat out say I hate him. But
The only thing he
Like,
has
it-
going for him is the fact that none of the grand juries chose to indict him over
Yes.
anything. That's the main thing he has going for him right
for
now.
one reason or another, I won't speculate that, but it's like it's like you just crippled your team long term.
Yes.
That's just
And-
that's simple. It's like
That GM and Haslam, they're gonna get run out of that town
don't be
within
surprised. if
2 years. If that team completely plummets, they're gonna get run out of that town.
they're gonna
That's
have
gonna be
to move,
hysterical.
they're gonna have to move the team to St. Louis.
I'm telling you, that's gonna be hysterical.
I'm not
if
kidding
they
you.
nosedive. No, I know, because if they nosedive bad enough, it could get really, really ugly. And especially with everything
no. The worst thing the Browns are going right now, we haven't even touched on yet. Haslam wants a new stadium.
That's right. And they're not going to give it to him.
No,
They're not going to give it to him. Boy, deja vu for the people of Cleveland. You're going to lose another franchise because of a stadium.
I mean, god damn. I got the 95 Browns need a new stadium. Municipal Stadium was a shit stadium.
Yeah,
I mean,
the old Memorial Stadium was old as hell and everything, but
yeah,
that's not
the
the
stadium-
case here.
this stadium. Okay, I even told my friends at Browns, I'm like, you've got a good, very nice stadium. I like Brown Stadium.
Yeah.
First
I got
Energy,
no
think
problem
is
with
now.
it.
It's 22 years old.
Something like that. If he,
Oh,
maybe,
yeah,
maybe, yeah,
they-
22,
It,
23
it was
years
there
old.
when they came back.
That's right. So about 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's like, and they're like,
It's
there's
still
something
got
wrong with it.
half the years that it's only got half the years that the Memorial Stadium had, if not more. Yeah, you're right, because that stadium was around forever.
But my point though is like, it's like they go, oh, there's something's wrong with them. Like then they're cheap
Then
to
fix 'em.
fix. They're a new stadium to fix them. Yeah.
Well, you know what it is. He wants the Super Bowl there. And you don't
You're
get the
not
Super Bowl unless you
you're-
build $1 billion retractable roof stadium.
If the
Period.
Bills aren't gonna get a Super Bowl, Cleveland's not got a shot at all.
I'm just saying, I think that's the motivation.
I get it. But
And
like,
you're right. They're not,
the
it's
best
not
thing-
going to happen. You're
the
absolutely
best
right.
thing the Browns have, they've got it's a very nice stadium. I like the Browns stadium once again. And it's in the perfect goddamn spot. Do you know where it is in Cleveland? They
Isn't it?
made a man-made island called the Port of Cleveland. It's in Lake Erie.
Yeah. I remember.
So you get bizarre, insane weather.
yes. Well, especially
And
the
this
wind.
is me as a Bills fan saying bizarre, insane weather, okay?
That's true.
They
That's
are
true.
literally on Lake Erie. I went to a Bills Browns game week 2, is like the end of September. There was snow in September.
Man.
It was 100% lake effect snow.
And a new stadium. But I'll guarantee that
Yeah,
is the
St. Cleveland can
motivation.
tell
And
them
it's
go F
stupid.
themselves.
You're right. It's unfounded. The Super Bowl is going to be in Cleveland.
Eh,
They don't want to go to Cleveland. They tried they tried Jacksonville. That didn't work. They tried Houston. My uncle was at I forgot when he stopped
Bills
going to
Was
the
it the
Super Bowls.
Panthers?
Yeah, Panthers and Patriots in Houston. And I remember him telling, I think it was me or my mom or somebody, that was one of the worst times he's ever had at a Super Bowl.
That
Just
stadium is weird.
Reliant.
Reliant, yes. It's
They-
more,
that
I think it's energy now, I think, but it's a weird ass stadium. I mean, it's crazy. It's kind of surreal though walking by that stadium because
Oh,
the
yeah?
Astrodom's right next door.
I thought they demolished that, the Astrodome. They
It's a
didn't demolish
landmark.
that yet? Oh, good. I'm glad they did that. I always
But,
liked the
dude,
Astrodome. I did not
Reliant's
realize
like-
that.
Reliant Stadium's like 4 times the size of it.
Yeah, oh, yeah. You know what? Yeah.
Like ask your uncle about that. It's like and this
I can see why that would be
the
funny.
Astrodome is not that small of a stadium, but you put Reliant next to it. It's like it's on and don't take this the wrong way. It's like looking at a church and then like sitting parked next to a mega church.
Exactly. Yes.
It
I'm with you.
really is.
I'm with you. Yeah, I agree though. I don't think Cleveland's going to ever get a Super Bowl.
They don't have
It's-
the logistics.
Correct. The amount of people that come.
Look,
And that-
it's like they don't have the hotels. I mean, that's the
That's what I'm
argument
saying.
they
The
have.
amount of people. I'm not even talking about the people that are coming to the game. Teams, the television, all the TV networks, the league, all the people from the league that are going to be there, security for it all, et cetera, et cetera. You're right. And that would be the motivation, because that's the only motivation to tear down a stadium that's been around barely ever for
Yeah,
barely 20 years ain't shit for a stadium, especially one
speaking-
that's built in modern times.
speaking of stadiums that are being built, well, they're going to be starting breaking ground soon. The Buffalo Bills are getting a new stadium. If you haven't heard,
Oh, I did not.
they actually are. They're going to break ground later this year. They're going. So I think it's 2026. The stadium's
Oh,
supposed to
wow.
open.
Okay. So
It's like-
are they
it's like
tearing
a-
down Ralph Wilson? Is that Ralph Wilson?
It's Highmark Stadium right now. It's like
Oh,
a
yeah.
healthcare thing.
But that's the same stadium. Yeah,
yeah,
just
it's-
different name.
they're
Are they
gonna- they're gonna
tearing it
build it-
down?
As far as I know, no.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna build
Okay.
across the. They're gonna build across. I don't know if they're gonna do. I don't know if they're gonna tear it down afterwards. So they have more parking. But they're basically
That could
gonna
be.
build a kitty corner. There's a community college
Wow.
across the street. If you come for the Packers game, I'll give you the grand tour.
Okay.
I hope you and brother do make it, but if you don't,
I'm
I'll
gonna
take it.
see. I'm gonna find out. But yeah, boy, that would be interesting. But
No,
good
seriously,
for you
just-
guys getting a new stadium. That's cool.
I mean, that people are pissed off. Like, that pisses me off. The whole thing is like, oh yeah, taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook for a new stadium. A, you paid for Yankee and City Field for one.
Yeah.
It was over $2 billion. Two, the Bills already get paid by New York State by subsidies. Just saying.
Yeah. And again, I understand that for taxpayers shouldn't because you're never going to actually get that money back from the stadium. But I understand
they-
that. But that
Kind of are because the casinos, because like There's
well,
some
that's
contract.
okay. Well, that's kind of a
Well, the New York State got some like loophole.
it's not
like
a
casinos.
it's not a common thing
No,
that
no.
happens.
They got something like from the casinos where they're getting like $500
okay.
million to build a stadium.
wow.
Like,
Okay,
next-
well,
like
yeah, sadly, I don't think every city that's built a football stadium can rely on that, but
no, not even Las
no, I
Vegas.
yeah, which boy, you know,
But no,
Well, that's
but, like,
cool.
but,
That's cool.
yeah, their final design. Apparently, the designs are going to come out next week or two
Oh, okay.
for their proposed ideas.
Boy,
Like,
that's
they're-
always the fun part for me because there are, I talk about lack of creativity earlier from I forget where it came
all
up,
you
but lack
wrestling.
of yeah, that's it. And one thing I've noticed is with a lot of these new stadiums, they may not
get
look the best,
creative shit.
but they are creative with how they design a lot of these. The one that just had the Super Bowl last year over in Los Angeles. Good Lord.
Except for they screwed that they're so idiots with that stadium.
Well,
Like,
in what way? Because I could potentially guess,
well,
where
what's
you'd be coming from.
Well, it cost them $5 billion,
Yes,
but before it cost $4 billion because they forgot one major thing.
I did not hear
What
about this.
What happens frequently in Los Angeles? It's on the news a lot.
Earthquake.
Yeah, it wasn't earthquake proof. They had spent $1 billion.
Wait a minute. Serious? Wait a minute. I miss a lot of these stories, obviously. But
This was like
you're
when they
telling
first
me
started
that
building-
that stadium, the SoFi, I believe it is,
initially was not
They
earthquake
did-
proof.
in Los Angeles.
Yes,
Okay.
with
You-
adults president.
Apparently not fully functioning adults because
Yeah, it cost them $1 billion
That's stunning.
more.
wow.
It's like,
Oops.
yeah,
Big
yeah,
time. Oops.
It's like, guys,
Wow.
yeah, about that.
Wow. Yeah, because that's all they'd need is for an earthquake to happen to hit on Sunday and for that thing
And there's
to just
100,000
cave-
people in that stadium.
Yeah, and for that thing just to cave in. That's all they'd need. Wow.
I mean, yeah,
Holy shit.
they were talking about when I went out to LA in like 2019.
That's amazing.
That's like the first thing I think of.
That's amazing to me. That I mean, I've heard of
Well-
things. I forget, like a lot of times if I have a couple of things to do, I always forget, or a couple of things to pack for something. Well, I'll forget something.
Well, you
Not
don't figure-
something that
you'll-
big or that
yeah.
obvious.
That's a pretty big car key, Phil.
Yeah, and it should be pretty obvious. Unless, so you're telling, hey, boy, you go to the job site. So wait a minute, you're telling me that nobody involved in this project has ever lived in the state of California? None of
Especially
you?
Southern California.
Amazing.
Well, it's like the Dolphins like overhang.
I didn't
think
see that.
The Dolphins overhang still drenches people in the end zones.
That one I find
$400
pretty
million.
funny. Yeah, that I find funny.
Yeah,
You
my friend
built it
Sarah,
to try to prevent that, and it didn't do shit.
and they did go. Oh, when you wanted the Super Bowl this way,
Well, you ain't getting it.
I would never give you to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah,
for
you
stupidity.
ain't getting it. You ain't
Well,
getting
the best Super Bowl, well, they caught it thankfully in time, was next year's Super Bowl. Isn't like not this season, the next season.
Yeah.
I think they moved it to Las Vegas from New Orleans
it. Okay.
because of the week New Orleans was having the Super Bowl. They couldn't have it.
Mardi Gras.
Yep.
Yep.
They all the same. Could you imagine just secure? Like, the NFL's like, we're not hiring that for security.
Oh, that would forget security. Just bring in, let's see, the
Bring the
Coast
Army in.
Guard, the Marine Corps unit.
They're
bring
right
in,
there.
yeah. Bring in,
Well, yeah,
you would
it's like-
need
but-
to for something
well,
like
it's-
that.
I mean, I know it's apples and oranges, but like this year's Super Bowl is in Glendale at the big bubble in the desert.
Yep.
Do you know what happens the same weekend as the Super Bowl now because of
Because
the
of when
movie
it is on the
back?
calendar.
It's the 12th of February, by the way.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
know that. I've planned this up because I've looked at flights to go to Arizona that weekend, for some reason. Anyway, I can't. We'll get into that like very, very shortly too.
But that's
but no,
Valentine's Day, I believe.
Well, no,
That's
it's also
right
the
around that
weekend
time.
of the that they that same weekend is when the TPC Scottsdale happens.
Oh God, that's right. Because last year CBS, that's right. Because CBS had coverage.
Oh, the
And
Super
then
Bowl
Super Bowl.
and
That's right.
yeah.
Oh
But
boy, yeah.
they,
And they
like
get
5 years ago, it
they
was
get
they literally helicoptered Nance from Scottsdale
to the
to
game.
Glendale,
Yeah.
which is like a 5-minute flight.
Boy,
So you
and
can do
those
both in the
people,
same day.
those people don't play either.
Yeah, it's like I mean, there's already 300,000 people in this for this damn golf tournament. You're gonna get like half a million more for the Super Bowl.
Wow. That city is gonna be overrun.
Yes,
That's boy, the week difference it pays off usually. Sometimes, like it. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
logistics planning. I love
That's
it.
right. Yeah, but Cleveland's
So-
gonna get one.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
you haven't won a World Series in almost 70 years. It was 80 years.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a Super Bowl.
Should have,
No.
but
They should have twice, but we won't go there.
it happens.
I mean, we'll
Shit
talk about we can talk about baseball history.
That's for another time.
Yes, it's another time, another show. But yeah, the NFL itself, like yeah. So like I think we talked about this. We talked about it off air. Like I was at the Bills Broncos preseason yesterday. Hot as balls. Hot as balls.
Yeah. Well, it'll get cold soon enough.
I've looked forward to it.
Yeah,
Like I would be happy if it was like 65 year round and sunny. I'd be
that'd be
very
nice.
happy.
That'd be
But-
very nice.
But the thing that I hate the most about the Bills games is the extreme weather.
Well, we were
Like-
talking about that off the air for sure.
Well, the Bills Packers preseason game last year, the players were complaining. And these were players from like Miami. It was 92 degrees.
Yeah. Okay.
My friends and I went the first quarter after Josh left. And I mean, it was already 12-0. Like, yeah, Buffalo won.
Which in a
We told-
preseason game is a pretty good guess, actually.
Well, it's when Aaron Rodgers wasn't in the play, so I was like, yeah, Jordan
Yeah.
Love's gonna come. Like,
Takes away a lot of the luster from the game. Then.
Yeah, it's like yesterday. Josh Allen played 6 plays. They literally went bang, 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 touchdown.
I mean, yeah. Preseason
they-
football, that's kind of what you're gonna get.
I mean, some of the cool things was like, I mean, Von Miller's throwing the ball in the stands, playing catch with some of the kids, which was cool.
That's nice.
And like a lot of the almost half the Denver Broncos came over and said hi to Von, shook his hand, hugged him, because then he played for them last year.
Yeah.
People forgot that. Oh yeah, we also saw the Miller Mafia, which was a sight to see. You missed that.
Oh, okay.
Well, we
Oh,
had
boy.
like 4 guys by me had a Von Miller Bills jersey, Von Miller Rams jersey, Von Miller Broncos jersey, and Von Miller Texas A&M jersey, and they were all sitting together. It was phenomenal.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's a Buffalo thing. It's like
Wow.
I'll have to find that picture. I'll send it to you if I find it.
Boy, I wonder
It's on
how
my-
much that costs.
It's on my Buffalo. It's on my birthday wall. My friend sent me a picture. Like,
Those jerseys aren't cheap.
and I marked out because it was a
Wow.
Bills Buccaneers game. It had to be 3 years ago. It was 5 years ago because it was.
Well,
it was
Brady wasn't there yet, so there you
No,
go.
Brady. No. It was shit, what was it? It was famous Jameis. But anyway,
Oh, that's right. He would have still been there around that time.
so
Yeah.
So the crazy story is this, okay? Like where we used to tailgate, like it was like it's at the Hammers a lot. Everyone talks about if you come, like so I'll walk you there.
Mhm.
I don't really tailgate there. I tailgate at a church, ironically enough, because
Okay.
it's easy in, easy out. But anyway, we had the Testaverde Mafia.
Okay.
8 friends showed up. They had all had Vinny Testaverde jerseys on from different teams. But the best part was 3 of them, he never played for the team. It was great.
Oh, for
There was a
he
Redskins
played
jersey.
for so many teams you couldn't.
That was- Right, that was the kind of
you had to make them
no,
up.
the best part was like it was like there was like 5 football jerseys. There was 3 non-football jerseys.
With Testaverde.
Yes, they did it number 12 for the New York Islanders for hockey. The Brooklyn Nets. But it was like
Did
the teams
Vinny
that-
have a big family that we didn't know about in sports?
well, the joke that was like, well, remember he's from Long Island originally, so
True.
we had
but-
the jet. So it was funny because there was a group of like 8 guys, right? And my friend sent me the picture like for my birthday. Like, I gotta find it. It's on my birthday wall. It's great. But like they already take this picture. Like, I'm like the Testaverde Mafia is here. This is awesome, right? I'm like marking out. Then this diehard Bucks fan runs over. Wait! He runs to his car, grabs the Tampa Bay Creamsicle jersey of Vinny Testaverde.
Yep.
So it became 9.
Yep. I was right when you said Buccaneers, that clicked
I
with me.
mean-
That's right. He played there.
Well, he started there, but we had the
did.
Jets. We had some of the Patriots. Vinny Testaverde jersey. We ended his career. The Patriots jersey.
I forgot that. Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, he had a Carolina one. It was like
Did anybody have a Miami one?
no,
Oh, dang.
but no, we had the New York Islanders. Which
Yeah, but you had the Islanders at least. At least you had the
Priorities.
Islanders.
Yeah, it's just like shit, really. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, the Bills fans are crazy. So it's like, yeah. So back to the game. It was cool. Like it was preseason, but the first 6 drives, they just, I mean, they play their stars. Like Josh played one series, but their stars played for like a couple more. They just annihilated the backups of Denver.
And we were talking. I mean, they got to be in pretty good. They got to be really game ready from the
There's
start,
some-
just because of the way their schedule, their first month and a half of the year.
Yeah, we
It's
talked about
gonna
the
be rough.
war they're gonna be through.
Oh, it's gonna be rough.
The crazy thing is, like, some of these guys that they drafted, like, there's a guy named Khalil Shakir. Sorry, I call him Tupac Joe because it was last name.
Mhm.
Like, his mom follows me on Twitter. Cheap plug.
Gotcha.
Hi, Mr. Shakir. But no, like he doesn't. He's been throwing the ball like 8 times in preseason. He's caught every one of them. Like he looks good. He's a 5th
All
round
right.
pick. His biggest problem is, like, we talked about like who the hell are the receivers for the Browns?
Yeah.
When we just, but like, there's like people are talking about in Buffalo. They're talking about who's gonna be the 6th receiver in Buffalo.
Embarrassment of riches.
Yes.
And that and yeah, for the Bills, I mean,
Then
I
Vegas
don't-
has him as a favorite.
yeah. I'm
Like,
trying to
clear-cut
think
favorite.
because I'm trying to think of what's really holding them back right now. Because they have the
Now?
tools. As
No,
of this,
I can't.
that's the
and
thing.
it's
That's
not
what they've
it's
had
not
the
being a
tools
homer.
for the last couple of years. It would seem they were
The-
so close. They
I
got
think-
to the AFC title game 2 years ago. They were so close.
Both games.
No,
last 2
3 years ago. And then 2 years ago they were
No,
so
no,
close.
no, it was 2 years ago they went to the AFC title game. Last year,
And
they
then
lost
last year.
against-
That's
and-
right.
but the-
Okay. So they've
I
been
think-
right there. They're
The biggest problem
what,
they had
3 or 4 plays potentially.
13 seconds.
Well, for that last year, yeah.
Yeah.
And man,
Yeah.
so
Because I think the biggest problem is they were too reliant on Josh Allen passing.
yes, that is true. Of course, when
And-
you have that
and-
many receivers,
Right.
tough
Then-
not to use them.
And then all of a sudden, hey, Zach Moss's ankle's finally healthy. He's running the ball hard again. Oh yeah, Buffalo drafted James Cook in the 2nd round, who was just a weapon. Like he's getting comparisons to his brother and like LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah, and
'Cause
that
he
and
catches it.
boy,
And if the rumor is true, which is basically there's like fire galore about it, what
Yeah.
happens if Buffalo brings in Odell Beckham?
oh, okay, wow,
Like I drove with my boss. You're going to have like 8. You're going to have 8 defensive backs on the field.
yeah. Hopefully he would be emotionally in check, because that could
I
cause
think they'd have.
problems.
I think Josh would probably be the shot if he wasn't.
Well, that's fair. At least he doesn't always strike me, Odell, as the guy who would respond to
although
somebody.
I just say he was a saint in L.A.
Well, that's true. That's a good point.
I mean, he did play. In
He did. You're
Cleveland.
right. You're right.
Again,
None of the
go with
stuff that was
Cleveland.
happening in New York. You're right. Or Cleveland.
Or Cleveland. Yeah, it
Or
made you
Cleveland for
advantage.
that matter. You're right. Maybe the worm has turned for him, especially now that
Or he
he
just
got,
goes
now
to-
that he got the ring.
Or just because he's playing for a good team.
Well, yeah, that could be. It does a lot to boost the spirits. It really does.
And like I said, if he's like the 2 or maybe even 3 receiver, he has no pressure.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
playbook's simple. Okay, your knee's healed. Get open. All you got to do.
Yeah, because it's not like in New York, especially, where he was the top guy, and in a lot of cases, the guy who caught the majority,
only guy.
where you knew he was going to be the main target. You're right, with so many options.
or like in Cleveland where it's spray and pray with Baker's accuracy.
Well, yeah, I mean that's And that's the other thing too, where now you got the best of both worlds in Buffalo for Odell, where he's not the only option. He's not a decoy, but they're not going to automatically assume, okay, it's going to Beckham, it's going to OD. They're going to have to be on the lookout. And you've got a quarterback who can just zip it right into him. Not going to be an issue.
Like you say your three receivers are like Odell Beckham, Stephon Diggs, and Gabriel Davis.
Yeah.
And you've got Dawson Knox on the field, and you've got James Cook, who's that running back I just talked about, who's can catch the ball at backfield. You have 5 legit weapons.
Yeah. You can't.
Okay.
And so the defense cannot focus on one singularly there.
Like I said, if you put I'm half not kidding saying you have to go like full prevent. You have to put 8 defensive linemen, defensive backs, and you have 3 defensive linemen. In that case, I go, Josh, run the ball.
No shit, because they're literally giving up not only the middle of the field,
Size.
they're giving up like 10, 15-yard radius each way. They're giving up a great deal of land.
And let's check defensive backs can't, like, unless you're a safety, you can't. You're not designed to tackle.
Correct.
I mean, so
They're
if you
designed
run
for
a
speed.
Josh will be as fast as you, and he will run your ass over.
That's the other thing with Allen, that it's like almost the evolution of the running quarterback in more recent times, because
he's a better Cam Newton.
My first thought was he's a better Big Ben because he's big like him.
He can run better.
He can run better, and that's the point.
I meant like because Cam can zip it, but
because Cam's a better runner than Cam. I think is a better runner. At least Cam in his prime, I think, is a better runner than Allen. But you're right; they're both big guys who can run. He can move. Allen can move. I think Cam was a better runner, more agile. But man, I've seen there's a couple.
Say agile. I would say faster. Yes, more agile. No. Just ask Anthony Barr, or ask that defensive back from Kansas City last year when he jumped over him.
I remember that. I remember a couple last year when Allen would take off, and I'd actually I'd see whoever it was coming towards him. I remember being a little afraid of them, being a little afraid for them. Like, oh boy, don't go into Josh too hard, because you clearly have the size disadvantage going.
Or
right
even
now.
like watching Patriots fans react to that playoff game when like Josh Allen just like jukes and like breaks the defensive back's ankles. Like,
that must have just been the cherry on top. That must have just been the cherry on top for that one.
But like I said, in the defense, like the Bills backups last week versus the Colts, and again, it's preseason, I get it, but like
still,
the Colts had 3 points on the Bills backups. They didn't play a single starter except for the kicker. And of course, the one thing that everyone's talking about from the Bills Colts game, Matt Araiza. You watch that punt yet?
Yes.
The 82-yard.
Yes, the 82-yarder.
I mean,
great. By the way, I said this a lot when I was watching the golf tournament today, but great bounce, great roll on that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
15 more yards.
Exactly. That was great.
People are trying to discredit that punt. You know that?
Why?
Because
what's the problem?
Well, you should listen to McAfee's take on it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
it's
that.
Only in net 62.
He's probably pissed.
He's like, do you hear yourself? A net of 62 yards on a punt. He's like, 82-yard punt. I never did that, and I kicked indoors.
Like that was his whole thing.
Yeah, he was just so he's just like
salty.
He's like
very salty.
Well, you blame him? No, he's more mad at the fans for saying he's trying to. He only kicks a net of 62. He's like net of 62 yards on a punt. And the worst thing, if you watch the clip, he was barely trying to kick that ball.
Yeah, no, that was the thing about it. It didn't. Which is always amazing how they get so much distance on those punts sometimes, because a lot of times it does not look like they put anything on it, and that was one of them. But
I mean, remember they measure from the line of scrimmage. They don't measure from where they.
That's right, and I don't get that. I don't understand that either. We don't have to go into it. I've never.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Okay, I've never looked into it. It's weird.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, if you count where he kicked from, it was like a 74-yard punt in the air.
Yeah. Because
He hits
they
from,
always
like,
snap it
7
back
and
about
it-
10 yards, 10 or 12 yards. Yeah.
17.
How much?
So it's 17 yards they land up back.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, they land way
Okay.
back.
Oh,
But think about
okay.
though, but he kicked the ever living bejesus out of that ball.
Yes.
And and the big speculation is whether he could do something was answered in the Bills game yesterday. He could hold. He did it really, really well.
Oh,
I'm like, you're really. I mean, why were they having the punter hold? Who the hell cares? Have the backup quarterback do it. It's worked for years.
yeah. It's true.
but yeah, it's just like holy shit. Like I'm looking forward so much to that opening night game because I mean, if the Bills come out and beat the Rams, look out football.
What a starter there.
Yeah.
And you guys,
I would-
and I believe it's a road game. If I'm,
Yes,
is it
it's
a
in
road-
LA.
That's what I thought.
Can we
Even more
flex-
so then.
Yeah, we have like we go from Thursday night football to Monday night football at home the next week.
Fun.
But hopefully
you're right.
Yeah, and hopefully we can contain King Henry at home. So that run defense
Boy.
has gotten better, which is
That'll be a
crazy to
test,
think.
and boy, that'll be
Oh,
the
yeah.
test of it for sure.
Absolutely. I mean,
Better to
It's
get
crazy.
that done. Better to get that early, so at least if there's adjustments that are needed,
yes.
at least you can make them.
Well, the crazy thing too is like this year too, like with having it, they feel like they've got legit like nose tackle, like zero tax or one tax in the guy two guys they were Dayton Jones and Tim Settle from Washington. That like play like their safeties don't have to cheat in the box and have a fifth guy in the box or like a seventh guy in the box. If they can be free roaming, where are you gonna pass?
Yeah, and I've
Trey White, they don't know yet. If he's
that's
gonna
yep.
he's a big question mark. What if he comes back week 1? He's fine. They're saying he's ahead of schedule. That's all they've said. They're being very mum about that. Understandably so.
Oh yeah, exactly, and that can mean
Like
yeah.
he's at practice every day. He's not doing like side to side movement, but if all of a sudden like a week and a half that brace comes off, and you got Kyrie Irving on one side, you give like no weakness on the team.
The prospects are looking pretty good in Buffalo this year.
Oh God, like
I think that's pretty safe to say. It's the Bills' division to lose at this point. I would say
it's a conference to lose.
and that's right. And I would say that. And to be honest, I would say that except for those opening 6 games, just because a lot of several of those games are against teams.
And they're on the road.
And that's right. And several of those games are against teams that I believe look like they could be potentially able to make it. Tennessee, the Rams,
Green Bay.
Green Bay, Baltimore, I believe is in there. I
Yeah.
believe Baltimore's in there.
Yes, they are.
And of course, Baltimore with the Lamar Jackson situation, that whole thing.
That's a
As
whole.
far as I can tell, that's not even going to be a factor this year as far as distracting them. And
I
it'll be
hope not.
interesting. I hope not too.
But if you say he's not, if you don't give me a deal in the next 2 weeks, that's gonna get messy quick.
Yeah, I agree. And
You're
can't
okay. You're gonna
afford
franchise
that.
him. It's gonna cost you 47. It's gonna cost you like $47 million to franchise the guy.
And that's always a bad idea if it's somebody you really, really want to keep, because
I just
they
don't
don't
know.
like the franchise tag. Even if it gets them some good money that year, players don't really like that. It's not exactly a sign of respect.
I just don't know what you do with Lamar. Like I don't know what you pay him. I mean, he's gonna go. He's gonna
I
say,
don't
okay,
either.
like we talked about with Deshaun Watson.
He's going to
like,
want that big money, but the only
gonna
problem
want-
is,
he's gonna want Watson. I was gonna say he's gonna want Watson money.
and unfortunately, even though Watson, they're going to throw at him.
They're gonna throw
to keep
more
it-
at him.
They might,
They're gonna say,
depending if they want to
Well,
play
he-
hardball and maybe
he's his
not
own
pay him
agent,
that
too.
much,
him and his mom are agents. So they're
I
gonna say
know.
like, yeah. And they're like, I won an MVP. Yes, Watson's won a playoff game. I've won the same.
That's I think where they might, in negotiations, they might try to throw that out there too. It's like, well, he has a playoff win, and I don't believe he does yet. I don't think he does.
I think
Does
Watson
he have
has
one?
one. He's
Okay,
in
one.
Tennessee, and then Buffalo beat him to get the AFC title game.
Okay. So
But yeah,
the
he's
one.
got one playoff when he won the MVP. But it's like, guy,
We need to see something out of you passing.
Correct.
Because to me,
Correct.
you're a speedy running back.
He's had flashes where you believe he's starting to really develop something of a throwing arm, and then it'll go away. It'll come back, and it's not consistent, and that's his
My
biggest
advice,
problem.
if you want to see quick examples of how to beat them, watch the 2 Bills games versus them.
Oh yeah,
The last 2 games they played in Buffalo. Buffalo lost because they misplayed one play on a pass to Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews broke like a 60-yard touchdown run. But then you see the game, like the playoff game, when he got knocked out, and then pick 6 happened before that.
they brutalized him in that game.
And Justin Tucker couldn't make a field goal to save his life because of the wind.
Well, yeah, I mean,
My impression of Justin Tucker was like,
that one was that. I mean,
that wind caught that ball.
I legitimately felt bad for him on that one, because that was one of those where the wind takes it in the most ridiculous fashion possible.
Yeah, it's just like,
you feel for the guy in that
What do I
one,
do?
like, what do you want from me?
yeah, and then the Bills back on the field did the same exact thing. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like I said, Bills stadium's really weird, and I hope you get to, if you do experience it, I will be happier than hell.
It'll be, I'll see. I mean, we'll find out soon enough if I'll be
You've got my
I'll be
number.
making my schedule for that. But shall we finish up by heading to the world of boxing?
Sure.
That was the
why
other.
not?
That was the
Yes.
other big sports story yesterday. Heavyweight championship on the line. WBO, WBA, IBF titles. Alexander Usyk. It was not a fluke. Another decision win over Anthony Joshua. This time split decision win. Let's see.
How do you feel about the split decision, though?
A lot of people online, I got to admit, did not like the fact that I think it was Glenn Feldman scored it for Joshua 7-5. I did not have as big a problem with that because Joshua looked much better in this. His mind was in this fight, whereas last year he got beaten up. He clearly wasn't there, or if he was clearly confused by Usyk, or maybe in shock that a smaller guy was coming out and throwing combinations at him and being aggressive the way he was. He was better prepared for this fight, had a better strategy. I scored it, and my brother both. We watched it together. He scored it as I did, 7-5 for Usyk. I don't have a big issue with the one judge giving it to Joshua. It wasn't, I don't have as big a problem with that. They got it right, though. Usyk won a split decision. They got it right. It was a great fight. I enjoyed it. It was a good competitive fight. Joshua was in it, going to the body early, landing. Usyk's left was landing just as well as the first fight. The big difference in this fight was Usyk only gained 1/4 pound heading into this fight, but he bulked up noticeably in his upper body. Joshua, in an interview, was asked about that and theorized that Usyk probably was doing it to either add more power to his punches or to better absorb Joshua's. Well, I don't know if the adding of the power happened because it was clear in rounds 10, 11, and 12. Usyk won those rounds because he was busier, because he was throwing more, he was landing more, but it was visible that his punches did not have anything on them, that they were not doing any damage to Josh. There was one at the end of, I think it was the end of round 10, might have been round 11, where Usyk practically just walked up to Joshua, landed a 5-punch combination, and Joshua kept moving forward. It was as if it didn't happen. But because he was landing those punches and he had better output, he was busier, he was winning rounds. That's what won him the fight more than anything else. Joshua had more impressive punches than Usyk did because a lot of his body work was really good, especially for a guy with an 82-inch reach who was punching low. He was coming in low with uppercuts to a lot of the body, going to the belly and the solar plexus with a lot of the punches. And he had Usyk on the ropes, round 9. Give Joshua 20 more seconds at the end of round 9. He might have had him. Or if he had just been aggressive once he had Usyk on the run, so to speak, he might have been able to stop the fight. Earlier in previous years, I think he would have. I'm not exactly sure. He was tentative about Usyk's counters. I've heard people theorize that they were just that he might have been tentative about getting into a scrum and getting caught with one. I don't know, but it was more competitive than the first time around. And with the heavyweight division being what it is, I would not exactly be mad if they did it a third time. I don't think they should, but I wouldn't be upset by it just because the heavyweight division does not have a lot to offer right now.
I just got to ask, I mean, what title's missing from Usyk's collection? Like, he seems like he's got them all. Those
Fury's got the WBC belt.
Okay, that's it.
That's the one. Yep, that's the one.
Because I saw he vacated the ring heavyweight title. That's why.
The ring belt.
Yeah.
Great magazine, and it sure looked good in the Rocky movies. That belt, but it's a prop belt, and Joshua treated it like it because the post fight wasn't exact. It was. I mentioned this to you before you came on that it was not his finest hour. It was probably his worst hour. Joshua's after the fight. It started out fine. They did a nice thing with the Ukrainian flag. And then it just kind of went downhill from there. He got a hold of the WBA belt and the ring belt, and he was saying something to the camera outside the ring and just kind of dropped him out of the ring. It's sort of like Medusa dropping the WWF women's belt into the garbage, kind of like that. And then he left. And he was heading to the locker room. Then he came back as he got to the tunnel, and I really wish his team had kept him into the tunnel because he came back and he grabbed the mic pretty much away from Usyk during Usyk's time and went on just kind of a ramble for about a minute. Usyk was clearly uncomfortable. People were silent. People were silent just to let him talk, but you could see people in the ring weren't comfortable. It was one of those awkward situations. He seemed like he was venting, but kind of melting down a little bit. It was just one of those things where he was just veering from one direction to another. And then, of course, later on, after he gave the mic back and he left, he broke down in tears at his press conference later on, talking about the fight. So mentally, he clearly put a lot into this fight, a lot into getting those belts back. And when it didn't happen, he reacted badly. He did. He reacted badly. Usyk was very composed during the whole thing. He obviously heavy heart with the Ukrainian situation, the war with Russia, fighting for his country. He dedicated the win to the people of Ukraine. Obviously, huge win for the people of that country. Huge win for the people of that country to have the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. It's a big morale boost for that country, I would say.
Wasn't this fight supposed to be in Kiev originally, but then they had to move because
I think originally it was, but then of course, obviously that wasn't going to happen because of the war, Putin's aggression, his asshole aggression. But so now, I mean, it's Usyk's already said, I'm fighting Fury or I'm not fighting at all. And then Fury, and I knew he couldn't help himself. Oh, he's retired, all right. And then within minutes of the fight ending, he's online talking about how he'd wipe the floor with both of them and this and that and the other thing. So it'll happen. I do think it'll happen. I do think we're finally going to have an undisputed heavyweight champion in the four belt era for the first time in, I think it's like 20 years. I think it's going to happen at some point. I think next year, I think it'll be at Wembley, probably. Maybe back in Jeddah, like it was yesterday, but I'm guessing Wembley, since Fury's originally from England, and the fact that Usyk just beat the most famous English fighter in the world, arguably twice. I think that would be a Wembley one. Or maybe, hell, who knows? Maybe it'll be in Vegas, because that's where Fury lives. That's where his fights have been. Maybe they'll gamble. Maybe they'll roll the dice on the allure of there being an undisputed heavyweight champion and put it in the stadium. Who knows?
I put in Alliance, Allegiance. I'm sorry, not Reliant.
I
Yeah,
think they might.
If that happens, we may have to take a road trip, Phil.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it'll happen. It's more of a matter of when
It'll be a
And-
draw just to piss us all off.
and whoever's going to provide the cash. It ain't going to be
Yeah.
cheap. It ain't going to be cheap. If
If I'm-
Fury got 25 million, if Fury got 25 million for fighting Chisora a couple weeks ago, and he was supposed to get 175 million for the Joshua fight last summer when it looked like that was going to happen. Well, 25, 175, there is a lot of real estate in between that.
But you'll get all the money back if you market it right.
That's what I'm saying. But you know he's going to put up a high demand for his.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And Usyk's going to obviously get the biggest payday of his career if this fight happens.
Oh, easily.
For sure. I'm not sure. I cannot remember how much he got for the fight yesterday. He earned every penny. It was a good fight. It was much better than last year when Joshua just got whipped, nearly got finished in the 12th. In this case, he nearly finished Usyk, and it was more competitive. It was a good fight. I feel bad for I feel bad for Joshua just because he clearly was not ready for the reality that he was going to lose to this guy again. And it was a close fight. I think part of what set him off, to be completely honest, it was that the two judges that scored it against him, one was the UK judge. That probably didn't feel good. But the other thing was that the Ukrainian judge scored it 8-4 for Usyk, and he was announced last, which means it came down to his score. And I think the fact that it was real close, and not as close, I think that set him off too. Like, wait a minute, I did better than that. I was close to that. I won this fight. I think that was a part. I think that was the match.
And I can get that.
I can understand that too, but he didn't react. It's just not right. You don't take the shine away from the guy who won. And there were a couple of things he said during his rambling that passive aggressively was kind of trying to take a little bit of the shine off. And that wasn't cool. I think there was one point where he made a vague insinuation that because of what's happening in Ukraine, the judges were maybe a little more favorable to Usyk in this fight. He made a little insinuation of that. And I wish he would. Again, poorly thought out. The whole
my rule of thumb for boxing has always been if you're the challenger for a heavyweight title fight, you gotta knock him out.
Correct. Leaving it in the judges' hands is death if you're a challenger, usually.
Yeah, because I think I automatically give by proxy, I give him like 4 or 5 points just because he's the champion.
Champion does generally, not even as a rule, but just mentally with judges, get that benefit of the doubt. Absolutely.
Like I said,
and I agree. And Joshua had his chance. He had it. And I would venture to say Anthony Joshua of 2 years ago, certainly 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, would have probably finished Usyk in the 9th round because he had an opportunity where he had Usyk not on the run, but he was landing. He had him against the ropes. He had him right where he wanted him, and he just didn't pull the trigger, and it ended up costing him. He never quite got another flurry like that. So I'll be honest with you. I get the feeling you and me are going to end up getting Joshua and Wilder, except instead of all the titles being on the line, none of them are going to be on the line because Wilder's
me eliminator fight.
Yeah, because Wilder's fighting October 15th against Robert Alanis. It was announced earlier this week. This is a fight booked for him to win quick in a slugfest in an impressive fashion. And if he does that, a fight with him and Wilder, a fight with him and Joshua, now that Joshua does not have any belts, any rematches, it seems like it would be the right time to make that fight and for the winner to then get a shot at
whoever
the undisputed champion would be.
Yeah.
It would seem like that would be the logical way to go, of course.
I mean, if you want to go, if you want to go for like Augusta, Las Vegas, just pay $1 billion out, have them be the undercard for the world title fight.
Boy. That would be quite a heavyweight card. You'd have to have that at Wembley then if you had those two fights, because that would guarantee 90,000.
I have passport will travel.
Yeah, that would guarantee you 90,000
Oh,
crowd
without
there.
trying, you'd be turning people away.
Oh, absolutely. That would be tremendous over there if you had those two fights. But
You'd have to build a bigger arena.
yeah, or start opening up a lot of locations for CCTV production. Absolutely. It was a good fight. It really was. It was much better and much more competitive than the first one. It wasn't exciting in the sense that there were a lot of slugfests and a lot of hard hitting action where people were close to being knocked out. It was just a good, solid, it was the sweet science on display from both guys. It was a good fight. I had no issue with it. The fight itself. I just wish Joshua's team had gotten him back into the tunnel. I really do. I wish they had gotten him into the tunnel. Okay, you said you did your thing with the belts.
Get out.
You're done. It's not going to get any better. And I wish they had, because it just made him look like a guy between that and the speech and then breaking down at the press conference afterwards. It just made him look like a guy not in control. And I totally understand where he's coming from after the loss, but yeah, you don't want to give off that impression, especially in that environment when we're talking about championship belts and just representing your sport in a proper way in that environment. It was, but it was a good fight, and I'm happy for Usyk. Boy, I gotta say, 20-0. So 20-0 for his career, but he unified all 4 of the cruiserweight belts. And he's got 3 of the heavyweight belts, and if he unifies the 4th heavyweight belt,
God, he's up there.
You gotta wonder if they might as well just pencil him in for his Hall of Fame induction. It's just a matter of when.
Seriously, God.
Because nobody's. I mean, the 4 belt unifications, they're becoming more frequent, thankfully, but nobody's done it in 2 separate weight classes before. Not yet. He could.
Yeah.
Canelo wanted to, and then Dimitri Bivol had something else to say about that. But it could happen with him, and that type of history-making achievement. Yeah, I mean, it puts him in an interesting class, to say the least.
And you have to put him one of the pound for pound best fighters ever.
I've seen that hype because if he unifies, I mean, how can you not?
Cruiserweight, heavyweight, yeah.
Exactly. Holyfield did it. There you go. And that would be my direct comparison right now with what he's doing is Holyfield. They're both cruiserweights. They unified the belts, came up. They're smaller heavyweights because of their size, but they're just as tough. They're willing to brawl. They're great technique, and they throw. That's the other thing about Usyk is that I just love the way he can snap off his combinations quick and effective, and that's why he's winning. And that's why he beat Joshua both times.
Well, when you get someone that throws like 7 punches in a round, like a Fury
not afraid
fight.
to fight inside, not afraid to be aggressive, and that's what I mean. Fury's going to have a couple of advantages in the fight in that he's heavier than Joshua, so he's going to. So when he puts him in the clinch,
taller.
He's going to be leaning down. Well, him and Joshua, there's only about one or 2 inches.
I thought Fury was
separating
6'9" or 6'10".
I don't know if he's
either way, but still, yeah.
But either way, it'll be an advantage. But the fact that Usyk's not afraid to fight inside puts him in a good space, in a good place, because a lot of shorter fighters will try to do stick and move, which you can make it work. But
if you're Mike
effective.
Tyson in 1988,
I was going to say, not many people can make that work, and thankfully for Usyk, he has enough where he can throw.
Well, he's okay. For the record, he's short, meaning he's 6'3". Okay,
correct. Yes, compared to the heavyweights now, where Joshua's 6'6", Fury's up there, Chisora is like 6'4", 6'5".
Right,
correct.
But
not short in general, not small in general.
Yeah,
and that's more of a body mass thing when I say it, just because he's a natural cruiserweight.
Right, but what I'm saying though is he's not Mike Tyson where he's 5'10" maybe,
and he's got all the muscle.
200 pounds. Yeah,
correct.
That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Correct, and you're right. You're right, and that's why I go back to where at the end of the fight yesterday, his punches didn't seem to have the same zip on them. Whereas last year against Joshua, he nearly finished Joshua in the 12th. So that was kind of interesting to me, to be honest. That was the one part of the fight that intrigued me, was the fact that it didn't look like his punches had the same zip at the end, even though
maybe he had
focus on building muscle.
but maybe he had too much muscle mass for his frame for the fact that like
That's what I, and that's what I'm wondering.
the muscles just got too much lactic acid, so it didn't hit his
Which
heart.
makes me wonder then, because I'll bet you, and it might, and I don't think it's the right decision, but if they do fight Fury, it wouldn't surprise me if they told him to put on he only put on a quarter pound. It was just redistribution. They might tell him to put on 10 or 11 pounds if for
And
Fury because of
just
how
sheer
much.
weight, not
Correct.
not muscle.
They might do a half. I wouldn't be surprised if they did a half and half on that one
Like
because they're going to want
five.
some power. They're going to want him to have some power, but they want mass to take the punishment.
Yeah, because Fury can hit like no one
Yes,
else.
he can hit like I mean, the way he destroyed Wilder in the third fight by the end of it was.
But when
incredible.
you're 6'7", 6'8", and you're 300 pounds, pure
Correct.
physics, Phil.
Exactly. So it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted him to put on muscle and mass if he were going to fight.
Plus,
Fury.
also, if you put more mass on too, you're going to be able to withstand the blow, and you're going to be able to stand.
Yep.
Your center of gravity gets better, but
hopefully for Usyk, it wouldn't take away from his stamina because his punch output is the key. The fact that he's so much busier than most heavyweights, so much quicker than most heavyweights with how.
Well, again, we go back to Holyfield.
That's right.
Holyfield was a puncher. Like
Yep. He had all the technical skill in the world, but yeah, he liked to get in and brawl. He was a dog. He liked the dog fights. He would, work the jab for a while. Kind of like Usyk. He would work combinations, but after a while, once he got hit a couple of times, it's just, fuck this. I'm going inside. I'm going to just go in and bang. I don't know if that's the right strategy for Fury.
I might be if you can get his ribs, like I'll cave him in.
I was if he can land a couple of really good body shots, then yes, but boy, that would be interesting. I'm intrigued to see that fight.
Everyone has a plan until you're punched in the face.
That's right. Thank you, Iron Mike. And it's true. It's 100% true. But I'm very intrigued to see a potential Usyk Fury fight, especially because I could definitely see this as a situation where Fury takes an opponent lightly. I'm not saying he's gonna. I can see it happening though, because he's had his
size difference.
Not only that, but Fury's had his opinions about Joshua for years. And to see somebody, maybe not whip, but to see somebody outclass Joshua, outbox Joshua twice, he might have an inflated sense of confidence about his opponent in this situation. So, I mean, we've seen what happens in the fight game when a bigger, taller, stronger champion takes a smaller opponent lightly. It's a recipe for something very interesting, and hopefully that's what we'll get in the heavyweight division next year.
Yeah, here's hoping, man.
Should
we call it a night? It's 11:30 for me.
I think that's a good place to finish. I think we covered everything we wanted to. Good reunion. Good to get back into it.
Yeah, I'll get you on sooner than later. I hope before the season starts. I'll try.
If not, it'll be definitely during the season at least.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, when Michigan wins again, when they beat Ohio State in November, when they get that repeat win, you better believe I'll be on doing this. I should have done that last year.
If Michigan beats Ohio State, we'll go live.
Should have came on last year and done it live. That would have been sweet. That would have been sweet. But thanks again for having me on. This was great.
Absolutely, Phil. You're always welcome.
All right, man.
I wish we had Marley on. It would have been great.
Well,
I'll
full reunion will be next time.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll bug her a little bit more.
It's gotta be right. It wouldn't be right otherwise.
But anyway, have a great night. We'll talk.
Have a good night. Thank you again.
Yep. See you, Phil.
Take it easy.
And that was Phil Clark. Everyone he said, combat sports. He just knows his stuff. It's great. It's I love having him on. I miss him being a co-host of mine. But I mean, it's just fun and all. It's all. I got nothing else. It's 11:30. I have to be up at like 5:30. So yeah, it's gonna be good times for everyone. Thanks again for showing us back-to-back days. Maybe I'll do a show tomorrow night after work. Who knows?